Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, Reading with the Crew.
Thank you so much there, Jack61. It's great to be here and great to be back. And I'd like to welcome all my fellow panel members. Thank you so much for being here today. And I'd like to say a big warm welcome to everyone in chat. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for being so loyal. Today, we've got a very, very special podcast. We're going to be continuing our readings. And I'll tell you what, if you like controversy, you've come to the right channel. But guys, before I get ahead of myself, I'd like to introduce our fellow panel members here and welcome everyone. First of all, I'd like to say hi to Jack61. Jack, how are you coming along, good buddy?
Doing very well. Hello, Doc, and everyone on the panel, everyone in the live chat, and I'm sure people will be filtering in as a little more time gets going. But yep, doing good. Thanks, Doc.
Awesome. Thank you, Jack61. And next we have Andy B. Andy B, welcome. How are you coming along?
Oh, I'm coming along fine. Thank you very much, Doc. Hello to everyone on the panel and in the chat. It's been another lovely day here in the UK, and I'm looking forward to another exciting episode of Foul Play Reading with the Crew. Let's get it
Awesome.
on.
Thank you very much, Andy B. Thank you so much. Next we have I Don't Recall. Welcome, I Don't Recall. How are you coming along?
I'm coming along well. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Reading with the Crew.
Awesome, awesome. And next we have Susan. Susan, how are you coming along?
I'm great, Doc. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Let's get to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susan. Next we have Just Rhonda. Just Rhonda, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. And yeah, let's rock and roll.
Awesome. Thank you, Just Rhonda. And finally, we have Neverly. Neverly, good to see you here. How
Thank
are
you,
coming
Dr.
along?
Silkman. I'm doing great. Hello, my fellow panel members and everybody in the chat. I'm excited about this episode, and let's get going, Reading with the Crew.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Susan, are you able to tell us who's in chat? And Jack61, can we have the very first slide, the title slide, please? Thank you so much.
Okay, we have Dark Side of the Moon. TJ Anderson. Disco Pervert is with us.
Welcome.
Just Rhonda in chat. Katie Did It. Angie Dickinson. Hello, 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 everyone. Pete Moss. Bethany is here. Andy B. Shane Henry is with us again today.
Awesome.
Neverly Darling is in chat. I think I said Bethany, Sherry Lynn, Pontillo.
Welcome, welcome.
Hugh Frazier is here. Hi, Hugh.
Hey, Hugh.
Jazznaz Gaming. Nan's Life 7 is here. Mystic Jinx peeks in. Gloria. Duke Juke 11.
Hey,
Pete
welcome,
Moss.
welcome.
Pete Moss with the wooden pallet. Sheila Smokey.
Welcome.
Anthony Hills. What just jumped on me? Charlotte Dowling.
Welcome.
I believe I mentioned everyone.
I think we got everyone. Fantastic. And I'm sure more people will roll in, and that's fantastic. Again, guys, thank you so much. Just a couple of things. First of all, please be civil to each other if in chat. And if, like I said before, if you've got any theories, that's fine. Come along to Discord and discuss them there. Thank you so much. Well, look, guys, welcome everyone for another edition of Reading with the Crew. And what we're doing is that we're reading selective passages from John Ferak's book, The Wrecking Crew. And today we're on episode 37, which is pretty remarkable. And so far, guys, we all want to thank you for your great response and suggestions throughout these Reading with the Crew podcasts. It's been really well received, and we thank you so much. And if you're following along, at the moment we're going through chapter 14, Canine Noses, and we've greatly expanded this chapter. We've covered a lot of different aspects of the case, controversial aspects of the case. And at the moment, we're on part 14. And today, we've got a special treat for you. We're now going to dovetail back into the canines, right? They play a really important role in this investigation. And so what we're going to be covering today, fingers crossed, is an area which I'm really fond of doing. And I've entitled it Bear, Bones, The Burn Pit, and BS. And by the end of the episode, you'll see exactly why I've chosen that particular title. And if time permits, we're not going to rush, guys. We're going to take our time. We're going to have a look at the dog tracks done by the bloodhound, the scent dog, Loof. So, guys, thank you so much. If you really enjoy what we do, please subscribe. Put your DNA on the thumbs up button. I promise that Cherie Colhane won't get access to your DNA. And please share our podcasts, right? The more people that can see our podcasts, both Reading with the Crew and also, of course, the excellent open mic, the better, right? We're part of a greater community. Share our podcast. That'll be awesome. And finally, guys, please hit the notification bell so you don't miss one of our podcasts. Again, guys, please show respect to each other. That's very important. And again, guys, as I've always said, we do this to find the truth of what happened that awful day to Teresa Hallbach. We do this for the memory of Teresa, but also to seek justice. We believe that both Stephen and Brendan Dassey are innocent. We do not believe that they have received a fair trial. And we're after the truth, no matter where it lies. Right, guys? Good, bad, or otherwise. We're here to uncover the truth. And hopefully, guys, together, we can go on this journey by asking some really hard questions. All right, guys. Well, look, thank you so much. Jack 61, are we able to have a look at the very first slide, which is slide A? Thank you. Thank you. And again, guys, please put your questions in the chat and we'll try and answer them during the podcast. But again, thank you so much, guys. And I see we've got Justine J who's joined us. Thank you so much. So the very first slide.
Yeah, give me a second, Doc. I'm gonna have to restart this photo thing. It's frozen, so give me just 1 second.
No hassles at all. Yeah, please put
If
your.
I can say, Dr. Silkman, if I can just make a suggestion.
Absolutely.
To those in the chat, if you have a question, maybe type the letter Q and then your question after it. If you start it with a Q, then we'll know you're asking a question. Just a suggestion.
Fantastic.
Just
Thank
wanted
you
to
so
say
much.
hello to Double D as well, jumped in.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
And Justine J.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you remember from last week's podcast, we actually went through in a lot of fine detail about the discovery of the RAV4 by Pam Sturm and her daughter Nicole, and the great lengths that the law enforcement went, and also during the trial, to ensure that there was no connection at all between law enforcement and Pam Sturm, which was very interesting. And Pam Sturm said that it was the power of the Holy Spirit how she found the RAV, and that's incredibly dodgy. Thank you so much, Jack 61. So if we have a look, what we want to do today is we want to focus on the canines that were present on the Avery salvage yard. These animals played a very important role in the investigation and during the trial. And there were 3 different type of dogs that I'm going to talk about. We have a Brutus, and Brutus is a cadaver dog. And the important thing about a cadaver dog is they're trained to detect human decomposition, right? Whether it's blood, bone, cremains, hair, teeth, you name it, cadaver dogs detect human decomposition. They're extensively trained not to detect any other form of decomposition, for example, from an animal. They're highly specific for human decomposition. And Brutus's dog handler, as you can see here on the picture, was Julie Kramer, and she's from Great Lakes Search and Rescue. Her team was called on November the 5th. And it's important to realize that we just didn't have one cadaver dog, right, guys? There were many cadaver dogs on the Avery salvage yard. There was a large number of cadaver dogs and their handlers, and they had gone throughout the Avery salvage yard looking for human decomposition, signs of human decomposition. And Brutus played a very important role during the investigation. The other type of dog that was there, of course, was Loof. And Loof is a scent dog, a bloodhound. And Loof was scented specifically with the scent of Teresa Hallbark. So Loof was specifically looking for Teresa Hallbark because Loof was scented. And her dog handler was Officer Sarah Forsk. Yeah, is that correct, Susan? Forsky? What? How do you say it, Susan?
I say Fausk, but
Fausk. Yeah, Fausk.
who knows if
yeah.
I'm right? I don't know.
No hassles at all. No hassles at all. So Sarah Fausk.
Doc, that's the way I pronounce it. I actually worked with a guy with a name that was very similar to that, and that's how he said it, Fausk.
No worries. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Sarah is going to appear on Convicting a Murderer, right? So it'd be very interesting to get her take. Jack 61.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was just going to say absolutely. We've seen that in the trailer.
Yep. So again, Loof played a very important role in the investigation. Now, Officer Sarah Fausk was called with her dog on November the 7th. And there wasn't just Loof, there were other scent dogs there as well. So in total, there were quite a few canines. Just Rhonda, do you have a comment?
No, I do have two questions from Double D. Julie Kramer did testify, right?
Yes, she did.
She's after,
Julie Kramer did.
And
but what? Sorry, just Rhonda.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, but
And then
Sarah didn't.
Since Anthony Hill says, I'm really making a mess of this. Anthony Hills asks, did Brutus hit on the Dassey barrel on the 5th?
Yes, he did. And what's remarkable is that Brutus, great questions, guys. Brutus actually hit on 2 burn barrels on the night of November the 5th. And I don't believe the burn barrels were searched on November the 5th. So there was, now they didn't say which burn barrels they were. In the report, it just said that 2 of the under burn barrels were hit. Brutus was actually quite excited and alerted. Now, when a dog like Brutus alerts, Brutus gives a bark. They're trained to give a bark. Now, all dogs respond in a different manner. Some dogs will sit and lie down to indicate that there's a hit, but other dogs are trained to give a bark. And what's important, guys, is that Brutus was taken into Stephen Avery's trailer on the night of November the 5th, or the late afternoon on November the 5th. And Brutus did not hit upon Stephen Avery's master bedroom. That's critical. But Brutus did hit in his laundry bathroom area, where we know that there were droplets of blood, his blood, right? So yeah, Brutus played a very important role. Brutus also hit on the Toyota RAV4, behind it. Jack 61.
Yeah, I just got a brief comment about what we're talking about here, and thinking about it in real time. But I'm going to tell you that there are people out there today, and they're guilters, of course, and that's fine. They believe whatever they want. Their belief is that all this raping and killing and stabbing and all this stuff happened in Avery's bedroom. That absolutely did not happen. That dog would have went nuts. There was no doubt about it. Even a probably one of their worst dogs would have also alerted. So I just
100% correct.
Right. So I just wanted to get that out there.
100% correct. These dogs are incredibly sensitive. Their olfactory system, their ability to smell is clearly way, way beyond what a human being can detect. Now, I'll tell you right now that had Brutus hit on the master bedroom, that would have made front page news in every newspaper and TV media report out there. Right, guys? Would you agree? Yes or no? Right? Had a cadaver dog
Yes.
hit, there's no doubt
Absolutely.
it would have made
Absolutely.
front. Yep. But the fact that Brutus didn't hit never made any report anywhere in terms of the media. And the other thing that we showed, remember, guys, on a very early podcast, a cadaver dog went around Stephen Avery's trailer with no hit. And I think also around the van with no hit, which means that a bleeding Teresa Hallbark, according to the state, who was transferred from the trailer to the garage, that didn't happen. Otherwise, the cadaver dog would have hit upon it. And Neverly, is it true that, remember that House of Horrors with the doctor, the Black Dahlia? They brought a cadaver dog like 50 years after.
Years later.
Dog, yep. And the cadaver dog hit upon the rear of the house where they believe that Elizabeth Short and possibly other victims were in that House of Horrors, the doctor. Right, Neverly?
Correct. Yes, it was unbelievable to find that out. And
Yep,
they also can scent underwater, remains underwater. And I'm
Correct.
talking about many feet, not like 2 feet. I'm thinking like 20 feet or so.
Correct. And if you bury, thank you, Neverly. And if you bury a body, they can still detect it many, many feet underground because a decaying human being releases gases that go to the surface and they can detect it. Now, if you, Jack 61.
And those gases are unique to decay. I think that's important to.
100%. 100. The smell.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. No, I was just going to say I didn't understand any of that until back when you really dove in deep to the subject. I didn't understand that. I just didn't get it, but I do now.
Correct. So the human body, when it breaks down, releases certain biochemicals, and they're very, very powerful gases. And what's amazing, guys, is that while we are alive, we all smell unique. When we die, we all smell the same, right? So a cadaver dog is not specific for Teresa Hallbark. A cadaver dog is specific for death, the signs of death. It can detect and smell death, right? That's very different to a bloodhound. A bloodhound detects a person when they're alive. And each person, all of us on the panel and you guys in chat, you give off a unique scent when you're alive. And guys, I saw this. Sorry, Susan.
Oh, I just wanted to say, because I think it was TJ that had asked previously, that they are trained to human death. Correct?
Human death.
Yes.
Human death. Correct.
Yep.
Correct. So they are trained for many, many years, and they require certification that they are detecting human decomposition. That's the important thing. When an animal dies, its chemicals that it produces are different to a human being. Jack 61.
And I think it's also important to remember that these handlers know their dogs, and they know their
Yes.
track record, and that
Yes.
also plays a part in which dogs do what.
100% correct. And Jack 61, you pointed out a very important point. It is just not the dog. It's the dog plus the handler. They work together as a team. So the dog handler knows when the dog is playing up and just wants to get a reward, because the two work together for many, many years. They're highly trained and they have to be certified. Just Rhonda.
Hills has two questions. Is there a scent dog tracks leading to the Dassey barrels, and whose scent was used?
Loof was scented with the scent of Teresa Hallbark. Now, from the reports, they used the inside of a shoe or shoes. And so what they do is they normally, because I've seen a lot of documentaries, what they normally do is they can take a sterile or clean cloth and they rub it and they put it to the dog's nose. And I don't believe loof was taken to the burn barrels. They only use loof on specific tracks, right? One of the most shocking things I discovered was that they didn't use the dogs very well at all. Guys, would you agree? They only had a very limited role in this investigation, and that's what is very, very frustrating. Jack 61.
Absolutely, and it's even worse because you get this. Well, it's obvious. Poggle or Shedder or maybe even all of them, they didn't believe these dogs. They didn't believe them.
No,
I mean, just look what
no,
they did at these crushed cars. I mean,
correct,
come on.
correct. That really was a travesty. Susan, thank you, Jack 61. Susan.
Yeah, I recently read that report by the cop Mignon that
Yes,
was accompanying the guy that cleaned out the what are they called? The waste.
Oh, the septic tank. The
The
septic
septic
tank.
tanks. Yeah,
The
on the
septic
property there.
Correct.
And
Correct.
she stated she had a very thorough report. And she stated that at one point they had to pause their operation. They were they were at Stevens Septic, and they paused
Correct.
their operation because they wanted to bring in a scent dog, a scent or a cadaver. I'm not sure which one.
Yep.
But they brought it all through the yard. They were right next to the burn pit.
Yes. Yeah, which we're going to be talking about.
And Bear was still there.
Bear was still there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they did not pick up any bones in the burn pit at that time. The dog.
No. 100% correct.
And they were there for 45 minutes is how long they had to pause. That's a long time.
Oh God, yeah. These dogs take 5 minutes. That's all they need. They are that good and that quick. Awesome.
I think it was Duke Juke that put up that report. And thank you, Duke, for that. It was very interesting.
Fantastic. And that's a type of feedback which is fantastic from people in chat and people that come to Discord. They give you tips. They give you have a look at this document, have a look at this. And that type of cooperation is truly fantastic. And, we're all learning. Not all of us can understand 100% of the case. Thank you so much. Neverly, did you have a comment?
Yes, what Jack said, that it was a travesty that they did not put much weight on the dog's tracks, the results of that, which I find very ironic, because remember our favorite law enforcement officer in retirement or in the reserve, Bushman?
Oh, yeah, the Mike Bushman,
he prided himself on his dog and his canine capabilities and abilities and his work.
100% correct.
Right? And all of a sudden now it's never mind.
Correct.
It's junk science.
That's right. And I believe the reason why is because the dogs were telling them a different story, a story that they didn't want to know about. Jack
Exactly.
61,
Didn't play into their
yes,
narrative.
narrative, 100% correct. And that's exactly what we're exposing right here on the podcast. Thank you, Neverly. Jack 61.
That's exactly what I was going to say because these dogs were giving them a narrative that wasn't going to work at all. So
No,
they did what they do with everything else that didn't work. They buried it.
100% correct. And Susan made a very good point several months ago. It looks like it was several months ago about why the state never made Cuss Road work. So something must have occurred which directed the investigators off Cuss Road because the dogs were telling a different story, a very incriminating story. Just Rhonda, do you have a comment?
Question from Double D. Yes, she asks, please refresh my memory. If these dogs was trained for human blood, etc., why did Sherry say that one blood stain was that of an animal? I think it
No
was
idea.
in another pit.
Yes, it was. No idea. It was in Mitchell's quarry. And that quarry was basically sand and gravel, and it was off Highway 147, right? And what is remarkable is that there were 3 cadaver dogs that hit upon blood and tissue at Mickle's quarry. And the crime lab went there, Erdl went down there, he tested it, and it was presumptive positive for blood. Now, a presumptive test doesn't tell you whether it's human or animal blood. It just tells you that there's the presence of blood. They took the samples, the blood and the tissue. There were several tissue samples, and they gave it to Culhane. And Culhane said, nothing to see here, boys. It's non-human in origin. And Culhane never explained what test she did to prove that it was non-human. So you've got this bizarre situation whereby Erdl, when he went down there, he dug 6 feet. He dug all the material around the tissue and blood. When the cadaver dogs came back one day after, Deidre asked the dog handlers to go back and check. The dogs didn't hit anymore, which meant that what they did is they took away the scent source. That's why the dogs didn't hit. But Culhane said that the sample itself was non-human in origin. And you know, my suspicious mind starts to tick, right? Remember item BZ, where they said, oh, they got a 7 out of 15 match from muscle tissue? I'm wondering whether Culhane actually had tested the tissue at Mickle's quarry and got DNA, but only got a partial profile. Maybe the DNA was damaged or destroyed, but they then said, oh, no, it came from the bone fragment, Susan.
Yep.
I see where you're going with that.
You see where I'm going?
Absolutely.
But there's one problem. The tissue was not in the burn pit. The tissue was at Mickle's quarry, right? So it didn't fit the
Did they
narrative.
not send BZ to the FBI?
They sent what they did. Now it's very, very it's not clear at all. But I read Eisenberg's report. So what Eisenberg did is she sent tissue to the FBI, right? Tissue and some bones. And item BZ went to Culhane. So the FBI could not extract any DNA from bones. So guys, no bone has been tested. Please remember that. No bone has been tested. The only thing that has been tested is muscle tissue. The FBI did mitochondrial DNA analysis. Culhane did genomic DNA analysis. But imagine you think about it. how could muscle tissue survive cremation temperatures? How can the DNA survive cremation temperatures? It can't. The DNA is totally destroyed. However, if Culhane had extracted DNA from the tissue at Mikul's quarry, that's how she would have got genomic DNA. But there's one problem. If that's Teresa's DNA, what the hell is her tissue doing at Mikul's quarry? It's not the burn pit, right? And notice, Jack 61 and fellow panel members, Erdl had no idea of the results of that tissue sample. And he's the one that discovered it. He's the one that found it, Jack 61.
That's right. Before we get too far away from it, Shane Henry asked a question or made a comment. Isn't it funny that no DNA was tested like the bed where TH was murdered?
Correct.
That barrel continues to roll down the road. Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, 100% correct. In fact, Culhane was asked, did you test the mattress? And her answer, believe it or not, was no, I wasn't asked to test any bedding. And I'm thinking to myself, you have got to be joking, right? They didn't even test and the reason why they never tested the bedding was that there were no obvious stains on the bed mattress. And the mattress is like a sponge. If there's any blood, any fluids, semen, saliva, urine, you name it, the bed will absorb it and it'll light up like a Christmas tree. And that's why I said MVAC it. If the DNA is there, it'll show. They never tested it because there was obviously no signs of staining. But good question. Thank you. Neverly.
Duke 11 in chat says, guys, item BZ went to Culhane, then to Eisenberg, then to FBI, all in about a week or so.
Oh, that's possible. That's highly possible because I know that the FBI did mitochondrial analysis and they checked the mitochondrial DNA. Culhane did the genomic DNA. But if you read Eisenberg's report, much to my horror, there's more than one piece of tissue. There's several pieces of tissue, and I'm starting to think that the tissue was from Mikul's quarry. That makes sense because it's written in the report, tissue and blood was recovered. Susan.
Possibly. Anthony Hills asked, so the defense ignored the dogs?
There was hardly any information brought up about the dogs at all. I was actually quite shocked. There wasn't much, like if I was the defense team, I would have absolutely focused on the dogs, what they found and what they didn't find. And remember, Mr. Kratz said Cuss Road is a non-event. Sarah Fausk was not called up to the stand. Only Julie Kramer was. And what did they use Julie Kramer? To say that Bear was vicious and attacking, and hence that's why they never checked the burn pit. But that's bullshit. Jack 61.
Well, yeah, I'll throw my 2 cents on that. They had, I'm going to guess in that area, they had minimum of 10 dog handlers, and not one of them could get Bear or get one of the family members down there to remove Bear. Come on. I mean,
Yeah.
I know one family member made a call November 6th, I think, or maybe it was the 7th, I don't know. It was early to come and get the animals. And there was a big flub about that shit, too. So I don't believe it.
Correct.
I absolutely do not believe it, Doc. But
Correct.
my comment is going back to these samples sent to the FBI. And I know, I can't remember which Q number it is, but one of those samples had to be refrigerated. And they instructed wherever it got managed water, I can't remember where it went, it had to be refrigerated. So that, I don't know.
Well, if a sample is refrigerated, it means that it can basically break down, right? You refrigerate a sample in order to preserve it, right?
Couldn't that be skin?
Yeah, that could definitely be skin. Correct. So again, because the documentation is very, very sketchy and samples just simply disappear out of thin air and no one knows what happens to them, you're not 100% sure, right? It's like Neville's former boyfriend, right, Neville LeBeau, who tested the samples for EDTA. He even said that 3 of the samples were negative for EDTA without even testing them, right, Neville?
That was the biggest bullshit testimony ever. And I get triggered when I talk about LeBeau. And Rhonda
LeBeau.
can also corroborate that it was a shit show because her and I read the entire transcript.
Correct. Didn't it take you
Yes,
several
it
days
was a
to
shit
read it?
show. I will agree.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
100% correct.
It was a
So,
lot of
you
fun
know,
too. Yeah.
yeah, so forensically, this case is an absolute mess and a nightmare. I don't care what any Gilda says. It's obvious, right? When you read the trial testimonies, when you read CASO, DCI reports, the forensic evidence is a disgrace. Things just simply disappear. All right. But unless we've got any other questions, let's continue. The other important dog, of course, was Bear. And Bear is a German Shepherd. And Bear is Stephen Avery's dog. Now, don't let this fool you. Even though Bear is not a trained dog, Bear has a very powerful sense of smell, right? His sense of smell is just as powerful as Brutus, just as powerful as Loof, right? So German Shepherds are often used as cadaver dogs, right? They're regarded as one of the best and I think it's the top 2 dogs that are used for cadaver dogs. So a German Shepherd like Brutus and also Bear have got remarkable sense of smell. Now, guys, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's sort of like a mockumentary on YouTube in which this famous YouTuber tried to outrun a bloodhound. I don't know if you've seen it. I've posted it. I think I posted it in Office. If you haven't seen it, you got to watch it, right? This guy did everything in the book to try and fool a scent dog. And it's remarkable. He even put scent of other individuals on a cloth to try and put off the scent dog. And every time when the dog was scented with his scent, no matter where he hid, the scent dog found him. Why? Because the scent dog has a memory of his molecules. It ignores other molecules and hones in on his. And there was he did this famous one whereby he put like about 6 or 7 different booby traps of false scent all over the place. He went in the hills, right? And he put scent and he used a fan. He used all these decoys. And believe it or not, the scent dog still found him. And he was wearing a hazmat suit, right? So it goes to show you cannot trick a dog like Loof. And what is incredible is that Loof was heading straight for Teresa Hallbark at Cuss Road. Susan, did you see that one? Did you see that
I
video?
did watch it. Yeah, it was very good. But it also made me think of people that claim that Ryan was living in Teresa's house, possibly sleeping in her bed. Maybe he tracked her scent to the
No.
Avery salvage yard, but I don't think that's possible.
No. And this
And that
program
kind of proves it. Yeah.
Yes. Once you see this program, you'll realize that it wasn't false scents, right? A dog like Loof follows the scent as it becomes more concentrated, right? Not dilute, more concentrated. So if Teresa Hallbark, if her body was at Cuss Road, that's where her scent will be the strongest. That's exactly where Loof was heading to. Jack 61.
Yeah, I remember we had a really good conversation. This has been it's been well over a year, maybe even two, about contaminating a scene with other people tracking and so forth. It was very interesting.
100%. And in this program, right, Susan, the scent dog smelt, I think it was a sock, for about 1 second. 1 second is all
Just
the
amazing.
dog. That's all the dog did. Took one whiff. That was it. And remember the two identical twins that the dog was able to distinguish between
Distinguished
two
them.
identical twins. So it doesn't smell DNA, it smells molecules that
They had
person gives off.
hypothesized, that maybe it was DNA, but they proved that wrong with the twins. Yeah.
No, 100% correct. Jack 61.
Yeah, maybe one of the mods can grab the link and put it in the chat for anybody who wants to watch it later.
Yeah. Once you see that, you realize the power of Loof and the power of Brutus. I was completely shocked. This guy, he's a top YouTuber. He did everything in the book to try and trick the dog. And the dog even found him in a car park in a shopping center, and he was in the car. The dog still found him, which goes to show once these dogs lock on to your scent, they will find you, right? And the dog only smelt his sock literally for like a second. It only took a whiff, and it's very, very powerful. So guys, are there any other questions, or can we move on? Because we're still on slide 1. We haven't even started yet. Are there any other questions? All right, so let's have a look at slide number 2. This is slide B, Jack 61. So please get it in your mind. These dogs are exquisite, they're highly trained, and they're great investigative tools. Now, this picture here, this is probably one of the most iconic and important photographs ever taken at the Avery Salvage Yard, and I'll tell you why. This photograph was taken on November the 6th, 2005 by Trooper Reese. And Trooper Reese, let me tell you right now, was very close to the burn pit. And he obviously had no idea of the significance of the burn pit, right? He just took photographs. He went around the place everywhere, right, Jack 61? Right, guys? He went around with his camera and he took all these photographs that later were going to be used for measurements, right? So he had no idea what he was really photographing. And if you notice, around the burn pit, there are no crime scene tapes, there are no red flags, there's nothing. Now, why is this picture so important? Because believe it or not, there are no freaking in situ pictures of the burn pit on November the 8th. So in trial, I was shocked. The searchers, the investigators, law enforcement, right, guys, were showing pictures from Trooper Reese to represent what they thought they saw of the burn pit. That's the only photos they had. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but John Ertl didn't take any pictures of the burn pit. Jack 61.
Yeah, there's a whole story behind that. I mean, they did show a couple photographs, but nothing to represent what you see in that box. At least none that we've seen. But this later on, this was in June or I don't remember, July. Fassbender's emailing Ertl, where's the photographs of the burn pit?
Yes. Yep.
Ertl's like,
Yep,
well, yeah, when we see a scene's been disturbed, we don't photograph it.
That's right. And don't worry.
Yeah, Sturdivant knows better. He knew. They all knew better. You document your scene before you go in and start tearing it apart. I mean, come on.
They
I want to
did.
know how it was obviously disturbed.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the big question. And it goes to show that there's some real funny shenanigans going on. And don't worry, we're going to uncover them all. So if you look at this picture here, Kratz in court blamed Bear because the state had a big problem. The problem of the state was if you had up to 200 officers on the Avery salvage yard nearly every day, how come nobody found bones, remains,
And all those dogs.
and the dogs? How come no one found bones, remains at the burn pit until nearly 4 days later? And Kratz was heavily criticized. How come all of a sudden on November the 8th, all the evidence falls from the sky? Jack 61.
Well, and not only everything you said and what Susan said, but nobody reported any foul odor, and there definitely would have been if a body had been burned there. There's no doubt.
Correct. And of course, who's the number one animal that's going to hit and make a fuss? Bear.
Bear's right there. He would have been. I would think he would have been going crazy, digging and whatever, you know.
Correct. Bear is right at the burn pit. That's why this picture is so iconic, right? So Mr. Kratz blamed the bear for being aggressive, right? And as a consequence of being aggressive, a bear didn't allow any of the investigators close to the burn pit. But I'm going to prove to you that this is complete and utter garbage, right? Now, the reason why I'm showing this picture is twofold. See that box of bones on the left? The state are saying that all of those bones came from that ash. That's what the state are saying, that all of those cremains were sifted from the ash. Now, if you look at this picture, and I've looked at it many, many times, does anyone see any bone fragment anywhere? Yes or no? Andy B, do you see any bone fragments?
No, I don't. I just see
don't
a little
recall.
bit of a.
Yeah. I don't recall. Do you see any bone fragments? And also people in chat, do you see any bone fragments?
I do not. No.
Okay. Susan, do you see anything that obviously looks like a piece of bone?
Not obviously, no. I mean,
No.
you know, it's also taken from a distance that,
Mhm.
you know, it's hard to tell anything. That's the reason they
Yep.
used it.
Yep. Good point. Jack 61.
I don't, and I also, you know, like you and probably others, I have to consider what action Bear would have taken. You know, him being a German Shepherd, and as you said, his olfactory is highly sensitive. Why isn't he digging holes? And I don't know what reaction he would have had, but I think he would have had some kind of reaction. But no, I really don't. And I guess, you know, under this, let me get over here, under this black area where all this ash is, stuff that's been burned. I suppose it's possible something could have been underneath there, but obviously, no, I don't, Doug.
Yeah. So on first examination, it doesn't seem to be anything obvious. Just Rhonda, do you see anything that obviously looks like bone or bone fragments?
No, I don't see anything that resembles anything in that box.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Neverly, what about yourself?
No, I don't. Anything doesn't like jump out, right? Because we don't know what are these pebbles, you know, are the leaves, what's going on. However, as Susan said, would they have shown this picture? You know, it's like,
Oh, Unfortunately, that's the only pictures that they had, because there were no in situ pictures of the burn pit on November the 8th.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly. Plus, the bones were so tiny. The fragments were anywhere, the biggest one was like what, 4 inches, which is 10 centimeters,
Less than that. That
and
was smaller than
less than that. Exactly. Plus, we already discussed so many times that they sat in the box forever, and the color is also like the
the
rat.
color.
It's a
The color is very unusual.
yeah,
100% correct.
it's
Now, what?
mystic gray mica. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what? Talk about now. That's controversial, there, Neverly. What don't you note is present on any of those bones in the box? What is
Dirt,
that?
ash.
Dirt? Ash.
Ash.
Yeah.
There's no sign of any ash at all. And what's remarkable is that I think Dr. Eisenberg was asked whether she had smelt any accelerant, i.e., tires, rubber. She said no. There was no smell that were coming from the boxes that the bones were placed in, which is unbelievable. But there's no sign of ash, obvious ash. So what the state is saying is that on November the 8th, Earl and his team sifted all those cremains from that ash pile, right? And the other thing is that there's a report, I think it's in CASO or a DCI report, that said Stephen used to routinely burn animal carcasses, right? Animal carcasses. So if you have a barbecue or you give meat to the dog or whatever like that, you could tell that you would expect there to be some bones present in that burn pit, right? But all you see is a thin layer of ash. Now, Jack 61, can you zoom in to that what looks like a round object at the front of the burn pit? You've got this clump. Are you able to zoom in on that clump? It's on the right-hand side. It's in the burn pit. Yeah. See that clump? I want to ask what people think in the panel, and also what people think in chat that is. What do you think that is, that clump? Andy B, what do you reckon that clump is?
It looks like brush of some kind, but it could also be thin wire or something similar.
Okay. So brush, as in vegetation, or possibly
Yes.
wire. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't recall. What do you think it is?
My first thought was brush, and my second thought. So
Okay, good. Susan, what do you think?
That's what I've always thought it was, like brush, debris, tree debris.
Yep. Interesting. In fact, it almost looks green in color. It's got a green color to it.
It does.
Yep. Jack 61, what did you think that clump is?
Well, I definitely think it's part of a tree limb or two. That's the end of it that, for whatever reason didn't burn. To me, it's definitely brush. I can see, a small branch and that is green to me. It's not.
Yep.
Not. I mean, it's kind of pixelated, but it's still green to me, Doc.
Yep. You just wait to what the state said it was. Just Rhonda, what do you think that is?
Well, every time I've looked at this picture, when I first look at it, even though the time of year was wrong, it looked like a Christmas tree to me. So I'm
Interesting.
gonna say it's just green brush of some type.
Okay. Interesting. Neverly, what about yourself? What do you think it is?
Well, I was gonna call it weeds, but I guess brush is the more proper word. Same
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And a couple of things. William has joined us. Barbie Allen has joined us.
Oh, welcome, guys.
Ronica
Welcome.
Clack asked a question like half an hour ago. What did
Oh,
Kratz say about the dogs in his book?
basically that bear was vicious.
And that's it? No, but what
That's
about
it.
the track dogs?
Oh, no. Oh, very, very little.
He was
Very, very
asking
little.
about the dogs
Shocker.
at Cuss Road in
Oh,
Pratt's book.
no,
Did he
no,
mention
no.
that? No.
No. The only thing that he mentioned was that Brutus had hit on the back of the RAV4, and that's when he said the investigation now turned into a homicide. Right? Now remember, a Brutus is not specific for Teresa Horbach, but the investigators knew then and then that she was dead. So Kratz very, very rarely mentioned about the dogs in his book at all. No, not at all. And Cuss Road, forget it. Cuss Road is a non-event. They don't want to talk about Cuss Road. All right. So for me, guys, that looks like organic material. If it's got a green brownish color, that looks like brush. But we'll get back onto it. So Jack 61, are we able to look at the next slide, please, which is 27A? Do you have that one? So Kratz made a big, big deal about Brutus because the state had a problem. How on earth, all of a sudden, do they start finding cremains nearly 4 days later, right? What's going on? So Mr. Kratz had to blame Bear. The next slide, Jack 61, is 27A. It's the picture of that dog. So, we really have to ask the question, was Bear that vicious? Was Bear so nasty that he scared everybody off? And if Barb is in chat, I'd love to get her impression of what she felt that Bear was like. Was he a nasty dog? Was he a vicious dog? Did he scare people off? Well, this is what Kratz thought that Bear was like, right? Kratz thought that Bear was very, very vicious, right? And so the question we've got to ask is, and this is important, guys, this is important because a dog can't defend itself. But Kratz admonished Bear and said, no. The investigators could not get close because Bear shooed them away. Jack 61.
Well, I think it's damn funny, this short video clip that we've got that you gave me. It doesn't show that at all. Barrett literally does not give a shit what these cops were doing while they were taking that video. He's walking around. He doesn't care. So that tells me he's not vicious. I mean, that's what
No,
I see.
no, correct. But it's going to get even worse than that, guys. It's going to get much worse than that. So what Kratz was saying was that Bear was so vicious that he prevented law enforcement and the other canine dogs, that's Brutus and Loof, and the other dogs that were present, to go anywhere near the burn pit, right? That's what he was saying. But what is bizarre, and we've got it in the testimony and we've got it in reports, that all of the dog handlers told the investigators, get rid of the dog, as in remove the dog. They were talking about Bear. If you want us to properly go around this property, please remove the dog. They didn't, right? On November the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and we're going to discover the 8th, the investigators never removed the dog, Bear, right? But I'll tell you right now, if Brutus or Loof were interested in the burn pit, they would have gone straight for it, dog or no dog, because these dogs are trained to discover the scent source. They would be lunging at the burn pit if Teresa Horbach's cremains were actually there. They won't stop. They'll keep going because that's the highest source of the scent, right? Now, I just want to comment on Trooper Reese's pictures. When you look at those pictures, there's no obvious bones that you can see. Obvious. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't bones there, but what the investigators describe later on is impossible. Impossible. If you look at Trooper Reese's pictures, and we'll have a look at them, what the investigators say that they saw on November the 8th is not what is present in Trooper Reese's pictures. And
That's
it's
right.
damning.
I'm
Jack
sorry,
61.
Doc, but that it just triggers me because of what they said they saw and what's in that photo. It doesn't work.
100%. Now, I'm not saying there's no bones there, because Stephen, they've even said Stephen used to burn animal carcasses. So one would expect there to be chicken bones, turkey bones, lamb, you name it, deer bones. He's burnt carcasses there before. My point is, there's nothing that leaps out that's obvious as bones. And you'll see that what Sturdivant and others say they saw at the burn pit, it cannot be. It cannot be. Susan.
Well, guess who just jumped in here? Ripper Jack Media. Haven't
Ahoy!
seen you in a while, Ripper.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Barb says Bear was gentle.
Yep. 100%. Right? So what I did, Jack 61, if we can have a look at the other slide, the next slide. This is important, guys, right? Because Mr. Kratz blamed the Bear for halting the investigation, right? So I don't know if you guys have used ChatGPT, but ChatGPT is excellent for making lists. Neverly, do you see the picture? Do you see the slide? 27B? We'll just wait for Neverly.
Yes, I do.
Can you just read what's underlined, right? What's just
In
underlined?
red or yellow or blue?
In
All
red
of it.
first, then yellow, and then in blue. Now, guys, if you've ever owned a dog or an animal, please tell us in chat whether this is true or not. And don't worry, I just didn't use ChatGPT. I've owned dogs for like 25 years. I've observed some of these behaviors, and I went to other veterinary sites. What this list is 100% accurate. Go for it, Neverly.
Signs that a dog may be displaying aggressive or vicious behavior can include: number 1, stiff or tense body posture; number 2, intense staring or fixed gaze; number 3, growling, snarling, or barking; number 4, exposed teeth; number 5, raised tail or wagging tail held high and stiff; number 6, lunging or snapping; number 7, aggressive posturing. It is important to note that dogs may display aggressive behavior for various reasons, including fear, territoriality, or previous negative experiences.
Right. So if you've ever owned a dog, you'll see that some of these aggressive behaviors, if you've ever seen that in a dog. And the question is, did Bear demonstrate any of these to the investigators, right? So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? Thank you, Neverly, for reading that. So the next slide is slide 28. Now, if you have a look at this, right, this is Trooper Reese with his camera. He's taking pictures all over the place. Now, Jack 61, if you could zoom in on Bear, is Bear displaying any signs of aggression towards Trooper Reese? Yes or no?
I'll tell you what Bear's showing signs of. He doesn't give a shit. He's laying there just enjoying the sun. He does not care at all.
But what's the telltale sign that he's chilling out? What's the telltale sign?
He's just sitting there, tails down. He's just looking around, and his back's to him.
His back is
Yeah, I was
towards
just say, his back is to them. He's not even caring about them.
He's giving the cold shoulder, so to speak, to Trooper Reese. Does that look like a highly excited, agitated dog in which Teresa Hallbach's remains are right behind the dog? Guys, tell me, yes or no. Is Bear showing any forms of aggression? Neverly, you've got a dog. What's Bear doing?
Bear is minding his own business. As Jack said, his back is to Trooper Reese. He's enjoying the sun. He's sitting there chilling. Not a worry in the world.
100% correct. So Bear is not showing any forms of aggression, none whatsoever. And the state, I'm sorry for being disrespectful. Please don't take it the wrong way. But the state is saying that Teresa Hallbach's remains are right next to him. And don't forget, you've now got Trooper Reese with a camera who's walking around the burn pit. And notice where Trooper Reese is. Trooper Reese is probably 10 or 20 feet away from the burn pit. He's standing on the grass. And that becomes significant, right, guys? Right, Jack 61? Where Trooper Reese is standing is very, very important, Jack 61.
Yep. Absolutely it is. If Bear was an aggressive dog, he would be pulling his cable there he's tied to try to get to him. And he's not. He didn't care.
Correct. Now, Trooper Reese is not Stephen Avery. Trooper Reese is not a family member. And look at Bear. Bear has turned his back and just doesn't give a stuff. And someone in chat said, yeah, he's basically chilling out. And that's exactly right. So, again, the importance of showing this photograph is that Bear is not showing any forms of aggression to Trooper Reese. Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? This is slide number 29. And just to prove my point, Jack 61, if you can zoom in on Bear, right? Again, this is another photograph taken by Trooper Reese. Now, Bear, what do you notice Bear is doing? What's he doing? Is he lunging? Is he baring his teeth? Is he stretched out? Is he going towards Trooper Reese? Jack 61.
He's sitting there telling the truth that he's not aggressive. He doesn't give a shit. He's just looking around. He just doesn't care. He's not an aggressive dog. I've seen aggressive dogs, and Bear is not one of them.
Right. So again, this is incredible. Here's Bear sitting down, minding his own business. Again, totally ignoring Trooper Reese. But notice that Trooper Reese is now right next to the burn pit. Guys, would you agree? He's right next to the burn pit. Yes or no? Look at that
Absolutely.
picture.
He's right there in
Zoom out.
it. He's saying, yeah, it's going to come. I did. He's
That's
right
it.
there.
Yep.
You agree? Trooper Reese is literally standing within feet of the burn pit. And
Absolutely.
if you have a look at that red arrow, the very first red arrow on the left-hand side, you could almost see the green in what I believe is brush. It now is even more obvious. Susan.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not sure what the bigger things are. That looks like maybe metal, but yeah. But yeah, most of it looks.
Yep. And if you have a look at the red arrow on the right-hand side, you can see, if you zoom out a little bit, Jack 61, that's the car seat. And you know what Fassbender and Wiegert and others have said about the car seat? That Stephen and Brendan used the car seat as a form of accelerant to burn Teresa Hallbach. What's the problem with that hypothesis, guys? Where do you see the car seat?
It's out of the fire, or out of the pit.
It's out of the fire. It's out of the fire.
Well,
Now,
Stephen moved it so it'd be easier to spot the bones.
correct. Now, if you went to all the hassles of removing the car seat, and by the way, it's got rust on it, which is very interesting. If you went to all the hassle of removing the car seat, wouldn't you scrape away the ash and get rid of the bones as well? Right? So quite clearly, the state have got no proof that car seat was ever in that burn pit. It could have been burnt any time or separately, but the car seat is not in the burn pit. It's off to the side. And you can see that there's a hammer. There are other objects. There is some tire wire as well, because Stephen did burn some tires, right? But quite clearly, the purpose of showing you this picture, guys, is that Bear showed no signs of aggression, and that Trooper Reese actually was very close to the burn pit. Guys, do we have any questions?
It seems like there's
Never.
a brand new question from Duke. In the
Yes.
previous slide, does anyone see a vertebra bone 8 feet south of the pit? Good one.
That's a big no, right? Now, unless you're the predator who takes out spinal columns from people, no. And we'll talk about that in a second, right? Because that's the very first bone that was actually discovered. The very first bone was not found in the burn pit, but 8 feet south to the burn pit. And that's exactly where Trooper Reese was standing. Trooper Reese was standing away from the burn pit first. And it's very, very interesting. And it really gives the game away. It really, really does. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? This is slide
Doc, while
30.
Jack's pulling that up,
Yeah.
Duke 11 has asked, in the previous slide, does anyone see a vertebrae bone 8 feet south of the pit?
Yes. And the answer is no. No one sees a vertebra bone except.
But we see where he was going with this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very good.
Absolutely. So this is truly remarkable, because this photograph here clearly shows the seat and it's rusted, right? Lord knows how long that seat has been sitting there, right? Literally. You can see some tire wire, which is circular. So this is the tire wire that remains after a tire has been burnt. It's in the middle of the picture. And that's tire wire. Does that look like the brush in the very first 1 or 2 pictures? It looks completely different, right?
Yeah.
Jack 61.
Yeah, that's all radial tires, which is well, they've been out a long time now, but radial tires contain steel belts that give them a better ride. They're more durable, the whole thing. But when you burn a tire up, that's what's left.
That's correct.
The steel belts.
That's 100% correct. And you could see it's obvious. Once you burn the rubber, you've got the steel belts that are remaining. It's pretty obvious. But Jack 61, if you zoom out, you can actually see the shadow of Trooper Reese, right? Have a look at that, guys. You can see Trooper Reese's shadow, and the camera is to his face. You can see that the sun is behind him. It means that Trooper Reese is within feet of the burn pit. Guys, do you agree, Jack 61?
Oh, absolutely. And another thing, I always go back to any odor, and he's right there. Now, I'm not a cop or a fireman or anybody that's been around somebody that's been burned in a pit or a setting like that, but to me, he would have definitely smelled something being that close where he was at. To me,
Yeah.
And no one reported any foul odor. No one.
No one did at all, which is truly remarkable. right? Which is truly remarkable. But this is the kicker. So the purpose of showing you these pictures, twofold. Bear has shown no signs of any form of aggression. None. Secondly, Trooper Reese was in feet of the burned pit. And if you notice, there's no crime scene tape or red flags. It means that the investigators have found nothing at this stage, right? This is November the 6th, one day after the RAV4 was found. So the investigators are on high alert. At this moment, the burn pit has not even come into the equation. Jack 61.
I was just going to say that the investigators did not give a shit about that burn pit for the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, until sometime on the 8th when Josh made this amazing.
1:30.
Yep.
1:30 in the
there you go.
afternoon.
A man to walk miracle. So.
Yep. 1:30 in the afternoon on November the 8th, right? So now wait for this. Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? So Trooper Reese writes a report. He writes a report. Susan, do you see slide 31?
Yes, Doc.
Can you read what's in the red square only, please? So this is a report written by Trooper Reese, who took the pictures. Let's go for it.
On Sunday, November 6th, I took a large amount of still photographs of the Stephen Avery property, including but not limited to the trailer home, the yard, the front gravel road, etc. Included in this series of photographs were photos of a raised dirt and gravel pile located directly behind the garage belonging to Stephen Avery. The pile had a section in the front, south, that was dug out and had ash and burned materials in it. I also observed a shovel, a hammer, and a rubber sledgehammer in and around the pile. There was also a garden rake with a burned handle next to the pile. On top of this same pile was a dog, German Shepherd, that was chained up. I continued to take photographs while working my way around the entire property, including that of Barbianda, Avery's sister.
Now, people in chat and on the panel, is this the first time you've seen this document? Yes or no? Is this the first time you've ever seen it? Andy B, is this the first time you've seen this document, or have you seen it before?
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen this one, yes.
Okay, interesting. I don't recall. Have you seen this document before? I don't recall. Are you there?
Yeah, I don't think I have. I'm not sure.
Okay. Interesting. Susan.
Not to my memory, Doc. There's a lot of stuff
Okay.
I don't remember, though.
Okay.
There's so much.
Yep. No hassles. Jack 61.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it before. Yep.
Yep. Just Rhonda.
I'm not sure. I'm sure I have, but I'm not recalling it.
Okay. Neverly, have you seen this document before?
I don't recall seeing it, and I don't recall remembering I remember the rake, and I remember the shovel, but I don't remember the sledgehammer.
Yep. There
all.
was a hammer. Now, Neverly, do you see the slide 31?
Yes, I do.
Can you read what's in the bottom square in red?
Sure.
So this is what Trooper Reese didn't mention in his report. Go for it, Neverly.
No mention of an aggressive German Shepherd bear. No mention of a foul odor at the burning pit. No mention of seeing bone fragments. And we had 19 canine handlers on the property.
There were
Unbelievable.
19 dog handlers on November the 6th, right, guys? Remember, we did this in a previous podcast. No one thought maybe we should remove the dog just in case. But the reason why they never removed Bear is because Bear wasn't aggressive. Guys, would you agree? If he was a
Totally.
troubled dog, they would have removed him. And remember, Jack 61.
Absolutely, because, not even considering letting other dogs back there, it's just the safety of the officers involved that are there and around the area. They wouldn't want an aggressive
Correct.
dog snapping and biting or trying to bite and all that shit. No way.
Correct. But you know what the most damning thing is? Despite Trooper Reese being within feet of the burn pit, he even saw the ash. What didn't he mention? He never mentioned seeing one bone fragment, not one. There's a law enforcement officer. He never mentioned seeing one bone fragment. And so damning, he never mentioned any smell. Now, wait a minute, guys. There's a burnt, cremated human being that's left pyrolysis black goo material in that burn pit. Trooper Reese never mentioned a bone or foul odor. Now, guys, how can that be? He's there. He had no idea. He had no idea what happened to Teresa Hallbach. He had no idea of the significance of the burn pit. In his report, he only reported what he saw. He never mentions an aggressive dog. He never mentions bones or bone fragments anywhere. In the grass, in the ash, nothing. And he never mentions the smell of a foul odor. Guys, what do you conclude from that? What's your obvious conclusion? Jack 61.
Nothing ever happened there.
Oh, sorry, Neverly.
Yeah.
Neverly.
Nothing ever happened there. The mere fact that there were nobody reported the foul odor, to me, guys, I go ballistic on this one, because it would linger for days.
Now, if Bob is still in chat, now Bob went outside to meet Scott. Did Bob smell anything nefarious? It would have been obvious. Had you gone out, you would have smelt it. Jack 61.
Yeah, that I do know, and I've mentioned this several times in the past in many other podcasts. I've talked to firemen, personally talked to them, and asked them about, human being burnt, and they said it's an odor you will never, ever forget. It gets in your nose, and it's putrid. It's terrible. And so that tells me, I agree 100% with Neverly. There wasn't shit happening in that pit as far as Teresa getting burned up or any body parts. I don't believe it.
100%. Look, guys, you're not going to get anyone more independent than Trooper Reese. He is a law enforcement officer. And notice what he wrote down in his report of what he did. He never mentioned any bone, no bone fragments. He never mentioned any foul smell, and he never mentioned any form of aggression by Bear. That's the exact opposite to what Kratz wants you to believe took place. Jack 61. Oh, sorry, Neverly. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Neverly.
It's okay. And so we now concluded that nothing happened in the burn pit in front of Steven's trailer. And we also concluded that nothing happened inside the trailer. Just
Correct.
like Kratz was spewing his lies. Yeah.
And no evidence of blood, of Teresa's blood inside the garage.
There you go. And we have 6 blood drops in the RAV. And there you go.
And that's it. 100% correct.
And the magic bullet 5 months later, yeah.
Which had no role in the murder at all, because it never struck bone, right? Jack 61.
This is a side note, and your comment about the Wisconsin State Troopers being an independent body. As far as my knowledge, and it's pretty good about this, when these photographs were requested by Seeking Truth, she got them almost immediately. There was no qualms. There was no bitching and grapping. What's nothing. She just got them. And I also made the very same request. And this records custodian literally emailed me because you only can put so much
Yeah.
In an email. You can only put so many megabytes, whatever. She emailed me. I've got like 57 or 58 emails from her. She emailed me every photograph, every one of them, and reports.
That's
Didn't cost.
incredible.
Yeah, and it was immediate. She didn't. She worked all afternoon on it. And they were so cooperative.
So that's a big contrast to what you're seeing now with
Oh my God.
the sheriff's department.
They won't even answer. You can't get anything out of them at all. They just ignore.
Yeah. So there is a massive contrast. So Trooper Reese was 100% honest. But guys, don't let that fool you. Jack 61, are we able to play the next little short video clip? So you can see from photographic evidence that Bear was chill, that Bear couldn't give a damn. But don't just believe the photographs. Jack 61, do you have the next little video? It's a
Are you
small,
talking about the bear video?
the Bear video, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Give me just 1 second. I'll pull it up.
Correct. So again, this little video, we've played it before, is crucial. Now, they never played this in court. The jury never saw it. The judge never saw it. Now, these are two additional law enforcement officers who did a video of the Avery salvage yard. They went in the property, they went in the garage, and they just happened to catch this image. And I'll tell you what, it's a pity that this wasn't shown in a court of law, because it would have been very interesting. Jack 61, we have to mute.
Yeah, to mute and unmute YouTube. Yeah, this is not a very long video. It looks like 15 seconds. So here we go.
It's only a shorty.
Yeah, it's very very short. That aggressive dog Bear.
Yeah, watch out for the dog.
All right. Now, I don't want to be facetious here, but if that dog was aggressive, it would have lunged. It would have lunged and ran to those two officers taking a video, right? It never did. In fact, Bear showed no forms of aggression at all. But what's important here, guys, is this. Those two guys that took the video were at the burn pit as well. And if you know, it's November the 6th. It's November the 6th. And you can clearly see they were next to the burn pit. Okay, they were probably 20 feet or so away. But they never mentioned any form of aggression from Bear. Bear just simply walks out, walks back in, tail between its leg, totally non-aggressive. And they never say that they smell a foul odor coming from the burn pit. Jack 61.
Absolutely. Not one report of anybody saying, man, there's something reeking in here. And they would have reported that. There's no doubt. And, you mentioned Barb earlier. I'm sure that Barb or anybody home over there, and possibly even on down, depending on which way the wind was blowing, they would have smelled it too.
But not only that, Brendan Dassey's clothes would have reeked of a foul odor.
Yep.
Right? And you can imagine Brendan walking into his house, it would have stood out. No one mentions any form of foul odor or smell. It would have been in his clothes, in his hair, in his shoes, everywhere. There is nothing, no evidence at all. And the state are saying that Teresa Orbach was placed in that burn pit and burnt whole. That cannot be the case. Jack 61.
Oh, sorry, Doc, I meant to mute.
Yep. So this is when you look at all of this evidence, all of it, and this is coming from law enforcement themselves, reports and videos. Jack 61, can we have a look at slide 32? This is my conclusion, and hopefully that you will conclude the same, right? Slide 32. So you've seen photographic evidence. You have seen video evidence. My conclusion is this. This is more like Bear. Bear was cool. Bear was chilled. Bear wasn't aggressive. And the best, right, guys, the best response was when Kratz asked Bobby Dassey. Remember when Kratz said, "Can you tell me how a bear's demeanor was like?" And Bobby said, I quote, "He was really calm." And Kratz completely changed the topic because he knew he had been had. And poor Bear got demoralized, demolished for no reason at all. Bear was not aggressive. Hey, if you encounter someone that you've never met before, because you give a bark, that doesn't mean you're aggressive. You're doing your job. He's an outside dog. But for Kratz to say that Bear was aggressive and he shooed away all the investigators is total weapons grade plutonium standard bullshit. Complete, utter bullshit. And you saw it with your own eyes. Jack 61.
Yeah, it's complete bollocks. Rhonda, did looks like Travis had a question. You want to read that? Did we lose Rhonda?
I'm here. Yeah, Travis said, what about Trooper Austin? Did they turn over or offer to the Leica scan system measurements, animations, etc.?
Let's have
Yeah, that's the total control system thing that Austin used to create those videos. Yeah, we've got all that data.
There is raw data. There is raw data, correct, of every measurement.
Yeah.
Right. But I think you need to put that data into in some type of computer system in order to work it out. They took thousands and thousands of measurements.
Yeah.
100% correct. Yeah, we have the raw data. It's in one of the documents. And Barb said that there was no smell at all. Right. And I remember Barb. There was a report that said that when Stephen used to burn the tires, Barb used to get angry because there'd be soot and ash on her trailer, and there wasn't any. And you can look at Stephen's garage; there was none on his either, because a lot of the guilters were saying that Stephen must have burned 7 tires in order to provide enough fuel to burn Teresa Horbach. There's only one problem with that, guys, and that is when Eisenberg looked at the bones. She was asked, "Did you see any residue on the bones, i.e. rubber?" And the answer was no. "Did you smell any accelerant?" The answer was no. So all the anecdotal evidence points to the fact that the bones were dumped there. Teresa Horbach was never cremated there. That's the whole argument. Susan.
Yeah, Doc, I am just re-looking at this report by Mignon, who is with the Brillion
Yes.
PD. And everything in her report, which is very detailed, completely shows that what was told in court is just not a true story.
No.
I mean, she tells the reason why they came to check out the pit. And, you know, I think we should read this. I think it's really important.
Do you have it there?
I do.
You want to read it? Is it fairly long?
It's not too long. I'm not going to read the first part.
Go for it.
I'll just say she first arrived Monday evening at 11 p.m. and she was stationed up by where the RAB had been. They were going to check out 2 vehicles there. She was let's see. She was relieved by another officer on Tuesday, the next morning, and she went back to the command post for further instructions. Then they did a search of the fence line going up to Stephen's residence. They found a sock. And then the septic search. That's where I'm going to start.
Yes, please.
It says, I'm an evidence technician for the Brillion Police Department. Lieutenant Sipple advised they were going to have several septic systems emptied and asked that I go along and log this activity and any evidence that may be found. I met with Jeff M. of B&M Waste Service. Sorry. I did go with Mr. M at 10:37 a.m. At 10:40 a.m., we did locate a tank behind the residence, behind Barb's residence, at 12930A, which I believe is Barb's. At 10:45 a.m., M sunk the hose and began pumping the tank. At 11:08 a.m., the hose was plugged. He checked the hose and found a calcium deposit. He stated this is normal. He cleared the hose. They found nothing there. So at 11:20 a.m., we found a septic tank located at Stephen's property. At 11:21, they removed the cover and put the scraper in. They didn't find anything. They found nothing in the tank. Okay.
Yes.
I did stay in the area of the tank. While standing near the tank, I could observe Stephen Avery's yard and the yard adjacent to his. Behind Stephen Avery's garage was a mound area. On this mound area was a red dog house and a German Shepherd dog. This mound area had what appeared to be a new layer of white gravel type rocks placed near a burned area. The burned area had what appeared to be burnt tires inside the pit and what appeared to be some type of burned vehicle seat near the pit. The German Shepherd appeared to be able to reach close to the pit. While I was waiting for Mr. M to return, he had to go dump his truck and come back.
Yes.
While I was waiting for him to return, I did observe this German Shepherd attempting to defecate. The dog tried every few minutes, but was unable to do so. I had observed this same behavior while M was pumping the septic system at Barb's house. These yards are connected with no visual barrier between them. At 12:47 p.m., Officer Jason Jost of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department did come to relieve me so I could use the restroom and have lunch. Jost stayed with the tank while I was gone. At 1:32 p.m., I returned and relieved Jost. While speaking with Jost, we discussed the burn pit and that it seemed odd to burn tires behind a residence. I advised him of what I had observed with the dog. He stated he felt someone should be notified and check this area. I stayed in the area so I could observe both the tank and the mound area. A short time later, Lieutenant Kelly Sipple of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department did arrive. He checked the area and did find what appeared to be a bone of the same type in the burned area of this mound. No mention of Jost finding a bone further away.
What?
A member of the DCI team checked the burned area, took over the scene security, and began looking through this area. At 2:10 p.m., M returned with his truck. He resumed pumping. At 2:12 p.m., the hose was clogged. He checked the hose and found some shit in there. Mangus stated that is normal and continued pumping. Let's see. He cleared the hose and began again at 2:30. At 2:42, the tank was empty. He did visually inspect the tank and nothing was observed. I had been informed there may be a second septic tank just south of this tank. I did check the yard, and just to the west of the gravel pit in this yard, there was a septic lid. M did come over at 2:43 p.m., lifted the lid. It was found there was not a tank in this location. Rather, the lid had just been placed in the grass. M did poke the ground and be sure there was not a tank there. No tank found. At 2:59 p.m., M and I did finish with the septic tank search. I returned to the command post. Joanne Mignon from Brillion Police
Wow.
Department.
Wow, that's really
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, nothing about Jost finding a bone and
No,
alerting
Sipple.
them
Sipple.
that way. Sipple said he found one in the pit after Jost had been there relieving her for an
Yeah.
hour, 45 minutes.
Remember the phone call between Jost and Sipple? There was a phone
No.
call. Yeah, Sipple was trying to get a hold of Jost, basically so they could get their story straight. But it sounds to me like there was another conversation outside of this phone call. We've got it because that's not what we've been told. That's not what we've been led to believe. It was Jost that allegedly found this bone 8
That's
feet
right.
south of. What the fuck?
That's right.
Pardon
And
my
Bear
language.
was constipated. That's why they took him to the vet.
Yeah.
To have him get him to poop so they could check it out.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
check it out. Correct. But here's the important thing, and that was a brilliant report, by the way. Thank you, Susan. Very,
bet.
very detailed.
Hey,
And,
that was put up by Duke Juke. I just want to give him.
Yes. Yeah. Kudos.
Yes,
100%.
absolutely.
100%. And it's incredible how we've got people on Discord that find the documents, find these golden nuggets, and we can add it to the narrative, right? But clearly there was no jumping up and down to say, oh my God, we found a whole pile of cremains. They were finding a bone here, a bone there. There's nothing wrong. They even said in a report that Stephen burnt animal carcasses. But what you notice didn't happen is that they didn't put their tools down and said, boys, we better call the coroner. We better call a forensic anthropologist, right, guys? There was none of that.
Oh, hell
There
no.
was none of
And
that.
and Sipple didn't do it on the 9th either when he found all that shit over in the quarry. It wasn't let's call the coroner and get them in here. I need 60 people to come over here and help me scour the area.
I think it's interesting that Mignon was still there for quite some time while they were going through the burn pit.
Correct. 100% correct. But
she didn't leave until 3 o'clock, and they started about a little after 1:30 is when Sipple got over there.
Yeah. Jason Joe says that he found the first bone at approximately 1:30.
No, he didn't.
In the grass.
Not according to a witness that is obviously not in on anything.
No, 100% correct. And it's very, very interesting. But the shenanigans keep on continuing, guys. Susan, do you have another comment? Thank you for reading that. That was really interesting.
You bet.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes, Neverly.
I think that all of this that we've been discussing so far, episode 300, that the jury should have absolutely been brought to the salvage yard to see what things were missing and not just take Kratz's word for it.
100% correct. That's why Mr. Kratz gave the impression that nobody was around the burn pit because Bear was savage and aggressive. That clearly isn't the case. And correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, but Mignon never said that Bear was being aggressive.
Not at all.
Yes,
he
but
was
not
constipated.
aggressive.
Poor thing was just trying to take a shit and couldn't.
What's even
That's
worse? What's even worse? Here's the gigantic red flag. If Simple's over there in that burn pit poking around, Bear's right there. He would have
Yep.
attacked him.
Yep.
but don't
Bear's still
but
there.
don't but don't worry, it gets even better. And I've got all the documentary proof of it as well. So Jack 61, are we able to look at the next slide? Susan, do you have another comment? This is slide
Yeah, I
33.
just want to throw this shit in Kratz's face.
Correct. 100% correct. And again, guys, the best evidence to use is their own words. That's the most damaging evidence. Now, if we have a look at this
Absolutely.
slide here, this has got me completely mystified. Right, this is the burn pit. I'm not sure what the date is, but this is taken from an overhead helicopter, likely from a news crew. What the hell are these four guys doing at the burn pit? Who are they? What are they doing? Right? And the amazing thing is, I don't see a coroner. I don't see a forensic anthropologist. I don't see a search grid. And most damning of all, there are no in situ photographs of that burn pit. And there are no in situ photographs of any of the bones that were found. In fact, there's no video, there's no photographs, and no one even took a photograph of Erdl sifting the bone matter from the ash. Zero documentation. Susan.
I think the 45 minutes that Jost was relieving Mignon was the perfect time to plant those bones in the pit.
You mean like dump them in?
Yep.
Dump them in?
Yeah.
That's 100%. That's 100% what most likely happened. They happened to have the bones either in a box or in a bucket and just dump them in, because what happens next totally explains the situation, right? Now, have a look at this. This is meant to be the final resting place, and again, I don't want to be insensitive, of Teresa Horbach, the victim. They're throwing water bottles in there. There are pictures of water bottles all around the burn pit. These guys are not treating that burn site with any form of respect. None. What the hell are these four guys doing at the burn pit? And what you notice is this, and this is very damning. Why aren't there? I want you guys to answer this and in chat. Why are there no cadaver or scent dogs brought in? Now, they found a bone. Why didn't they bring in a cadaver dog and a scent dog to check out the burn pit area? Why? Who can answer that? Susan.
I'm going to be honest. I can't even tell this is near the burn pit. Are you sure that's where this picture is?
Yeah. That's definitely the burn pit. You can actually see the rake, and you could actually see the little white stones.
Yeah,
They're at
you
the
can see
burn pit.
the gravel over here on the left.
Yeah,
See it
the
Yeah.
gravel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't worry, there's more pictures. They're definitely at the burn pit.
This
Who the hell
photo,
are these guys?
I'm sorry. This photo is from like their back would be to the garage in Avery's house. They're photographing the other direction.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
correct. Yeah, they're definitely at the burn pit. So the question is, who are these guys? Why isn't there a camera? Why isn't there a photographer? But wait, can we have a look at the next picture, Jack 61? This one's going to blow you away. This is slide number 34. What's a guy got in his hand?
A camera?
A camera.
Video camera?
I don't know, but he's taking a picture of, I think, the rake or the shovel, right?
Of shadows?
And clearly you can see they're at the burn pit, right? So there's a guy. Yeah. Who the hell is he? Why has he got a camera or a video camera? Why are there no in situ pictures of any bones? And before you answer, Jack 61, why didn't John Erdl take any pictures if this guy's taken pictures, why didn't John Ertl, who works for the crime lab, how come he never took any pictures? Jack 61.
Well, according to him, the scene had been disturbed, so they don't take photos of that. But I call bullshit and shenanigans on that, and I want to know where these photographs are and where I can request them from, because we don't have them.
No, these photographs are from a helicopter. They're probably from a news crew. I got this
Gotcha.
from a video still, right?
Gotcha.
So these are not official police photographs.
I
These are
understand.
probably from above, from a news crew.
So the filmmakers were able to get some of this footage or whatever.
I believe so. Yes.
Gotcha.
From footage, news footage, right? But I'm going to read to you what John Ertl said to Tom Fassbender. Remember, Tom Fassbender said to Ertl, "Hey, wait a minute. How come he didn't take any photographs?" Let me read to you what he said to Tom Fassbender, right? This is back in July the 3rd, 2006. He goes, "Tom, I checked the contact prints of the photos we took at the scene, and you are correct. There are none of the inside of the license plate vehicle and none of the burn pit. The reasoning is the same in both instances. We typically do not take photos to document a scene if the scene has knowingly been altered." Wait a minute. Aren't they the first people at the burn pit? Yes or no?
Yep.
They're the first people at the burn pit. This is November the 8th. Now, did Trooper Reese say he touched anything in the burn pit? No. He never said he touched anything. He just took photographs. So did someone do something to the burn pit on November the 7th? How did Ertl know that it was disturbed? That's the question. I'll continue. In regards to the license plates, the fireman had reportedly unrolled he unrolled at least one of the plates, and they had been moved from their original position, so hence no longer in situ, right? In regards to the burn pit, our involvement began with a request to use our sifting equipment. The scene had obviously been altered at that point. Holy shit. What does that mean? And he continues, had we been working any of these scenes from start to finish, there would likely have been a more thorough photo record. And I'll stop there.
Who is that talking? Who is
That
that?
was John Ertl to Fassbender.
That's Ertl.
Okay.
That's Ertl talking, writing an email to Tom Fassbender. Fassbender said, "Hey, Ertl, why aren't there any photographs?" And he goes, "Because the scene was altered. Obviously,
Who was there
altered."
first? Sipple and Jost.
Yep.
Yeah, but what did they do?
Right. Yeah. What did they do?
Yeah, what did they do? We don't really know. But I have a question, Doc, and just given the tone of that email, do you think Earl was pissed?
He was mega pissed because, guys,
I agree.
the crime lab was always called last. Remember when they went inside Stephen Avery's trailer, right? The crime lab wasn't even called until much later. And remember, we did it in the podcast. Ertl said, "Yeah, it was raining. We were just twiddling our thumbs, waiting for advice." They got called last. What about at Mickle's Quarry? They were called last. What about at Cuss Road? They were called last. And what about at the burn pit? They didn't arrive till 1.5 hours later. Right? The crime lab was always called last. You have to ask why. Why, Susan?
So Sipple and Jost had had manipulated the burn pit, had moved shit
Something
around in there, or
happened.
because they knew Ertl wouldn't photograph if it had been messed with. I don't know.
I don't know, but when Ertl got there, he goes, "Hey boys, we can't photograph this shit. This isn't in situ. Something has been manipulated." Jack 61.
I'd sure
Why
like
the
to
hell
talk to.
didn't they photograph it?
I sure as
Sipple
hell like
and
to
Jost.
talk. Well, they had photographers all around. Colin was there.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
They could have called Zhang, which he was with with Ertl.
Yes, that's correct.
There was another one there too on the 6th. That guy from Manitowoc City Police on the 6th, he took 200 plus photographs that I can't get. So there was photographers around. And we can't forget about State Trooper Reese and Austin. They were there and with cameras.
100% correct. So here's the kicker. What happened between November the 6th, when Trooper Reese took those pictures, to November the 8th?
Cuss Road.
What Cuss Road happened, but what happened at the burn pit? How come no one saw planting? How come no one saw anything until November the 8th?
Because there wasn't shit in there wasn't shit in there. I mean, that's my opinion, but I can't prove it. But
I agree. Trooper Reese never mentioned bones or smell. Nothing. He was there. He was right next to the burn pit. He even said that there was ash. So he was right next to the burn pit. Never mentioned any bone fragments. Nothing. And suddenly on November the 8th, bone fragments are being found. Jack 61.
I'd sure like to talk to Officer Mignon. I really would. Because it sounded to me like she's an unbiased.
I would too.
Wouldn't you, Susan?
I
Because
would too.
She was
heck
very
yeah.
clear and straight and just reported what she saw. And she was very detailed. I would love to talk to her.
Very, very, very detailed. And Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? Oh, sorry, Susan, did you have a comment?
No, Doc, I was done.
Okay. So if we have a look at slide 35. Now, look at this. Have a look at this. You got a guy standing on the burn pit or very close to the burn pit. You got a tarp and you've got crime scene tape. Now, notice how close the crime scene tape is to the burn pit. And you've got people standing outside the tape and people inside the tape. You've got a blue tarp. Do you notice Brutus or Loof anywhere near there? Yes or no? So they've got the crime scene marked off. Do you see a cadaver dog? Do you see a scent dog? Yes or no?
No, absolutely not.
None. Here's the perfect opportunity to bring in the dogs just to check the surrounding area. You don't see Brutus, a cadaver dog, and you don't see Loof, a scent dog. Now, don't you think, now that they've commanded the crime scene, that they will bring in the dogs just to check the surrounding area and the burn pit? Susan.
A cadaver dog would tell you if they were human bones.
100%. And cadaver dogs do detect human decomposition and they detect bones, cremains. Brutus would have gone bananas if Teresa's bones were there. And to make matters worse, guys, they're saying that item BZ was there. And item BZ had muscle tissue. So there's no doubt that Brutus would have detected it, and also Loof, scent, right? If Teresa Horbach had been there, right? So why didn't they bring in the dogs, right?
Oh, Doc.
Yes.
I missed a vital part of this report of Mignon. Can I just read it here?
You betcha.
At 11:20 a.m., we did find a septic tank loaded. Maybe I read it behind Stevens at 12932 Avery Road. At 11:21, M removed the cover of the tank and did a scraper into the tank. He advised he did not feel anything unusual in the tank. At 11:23 a.m., M was asked to wait while search dogs went through this area.
Oh no!
At 12:08 p.m., he did sink the pump hose and began pumping at 12:13. So that was
Well,
45 minutes while he
Are you
waited while
fucking
they
kidding
brought the
me?
search dogs.
let me pull that up, Doc.
Are you fucking kidding me? So it's true, the dogs never hit.
They did not hit. I mean, they were there
Oh,
45 minutes, and nothing happened until 1:30 when she got
yeah.
back from lunch.
The first bone was
And
found at 1:30.
this was at 11:23 a.m. when the dogs
Oh
came.
my God. The dogs did go through.
They did.
Oh, damn. Damn. Oh,
Wow.
no. Oh,
Where's the
no.
reports about that?
Oh, no. So it's true the dogs never hit on the burn pit.
Wow.
Sure didn't.
Oh,
They would have went
oh.
ape shit if there had been cremains in there.
Guys, we can stop the podcast right here.
Absolutely.
We can
Yeah.
stop the podcast.
Let him out of prison, for fuck's sake.
Oh, my God. Well, I'm glad you told me that because I want to do a couple of more slides. 'Cause that's just completely blown my mind because this was never mentioned in the trial. Guys, I
No.
never saw this in the
No.
trial.
Nope.
No,
I never
it
even
wasn't.
saw this in
And,
the pre-trial.
and she didn't testify either.
No,
Nope.
no. That is so damning. Because I asked the question, that's why I did the slide. I'm thinking, wait a minute. They've commanded the burn pit. They've got us surrounded by tape. Why didn't they bring in the dogs? And it looks like they did bring in the dogs.
They'd already been there. Yeah.
They've already been there. Oh no. All right. Oh no, that's just completely blown my mind. Now, Jack 61. Good catch, Susan. Who gave you that document? Who alerted to you that document?
Juke 11.
Duke.
Woohoo.
Bring him on the panel. Bring
Yeah.
him or her. Bring him on
Yeah,
the
he does some great research.
That is phenomenal.
Yep.
Jack
Great
61.
job. Great job, Duke.
Well, have a look at this, right? Now, having that in the back of your mind now, oh my God, you watch this. So, Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide? This is slide 36A, right? Now, just wait till that comes out. This is going to now change the focus of this testimony big time. There's trouble. There's big trouble now, right? This is Special Agent Tom Sturdivant. Remember that name. That name's very, very important. And I call this section of the podcast Bear, Bones, Burn Pit, and Bullshit. And I'll tell you why. Because he was showing the photograph down below. This is just a crop version of it, right? Just a crop. You've seen the larger photo. Why was he showing this photo? Because the idiots never photographed the burn pit on November the 8th in situ. So they had to show this photo and others that Trooper Reese took to the people that were there. Now, here's Sturdivant is a special agent. He's from the DCI and he's from the Narcotics Bureau. Narcotics Bureau, right? But he also did 2 years in the Arson Bureau. So hence he's got some experience with fires, right? But he's from narcotics. At the burn pit, from what we've learned, was Lieutenant Kelly Sipple, Jason Jost, he's from the MTSO, Tom Sturdivant and get ready to be fucking mind blown. Guess who else was at the burn pit? Anyone want to have a guess? You're not going to believe this shit. Who do you think was at the burn pit and was involved in Stephen Avery's exoneration report, asking the MTSO officers what happened in 1985? You want to have a guess who was there? Andy B.
It's not Culhane, is it?
Not Culhane.
Not Culhane. Oh,
Not
sorry.
Culhane. No, Jack.
Deb
61.
Strauss.
Deb Strauss.
Deb fucking Strauss. Now, wait a minute.
Wow.
This is, are you trying to tell me this is not weird? Deb Strauss was the one that questioned all the officers about what happened in 1985. Deb Strauss is the one that rang up I think it was the MTSO or Calumet saying, I don't like Stephen Avery. Do you want my help? Calumet.
Yep.
Queso. And then Deb Strauss is at the burn pit on November the 8th. Guys, is this too much of a freaking coincidence or what, Susan?
Is she DCI? Is that what Deb Strauss is?
She is. Absolutely.
She's a special agent.
Okay, because Mignon says a member of the DCI team checked the burn area, took over the scene security, and began looking through this area.
That's either Sturdivant or Strauss.
That was, yeah.
It's
I'm
probably
going to guess.
Strauss.
Well,
Because
I'm gonna
Sipple
go ahead.
was right after Sipple arrived. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
maybe it was
I'd
Strauss.
really like to talk to Officer Mignon and see if she could remember which one, because man or woman, which one took over. My guess would be Sturdivant, but I don't know.
Yeah, but there's no doubt that Deb Strauss was there. And it's interesting that some of the officers said, I can't remember what her name was. They didn't want to say Deb Strauss, but
That is
yeah,
freaking. That is She was everywhere in this case early on. Everywhere.
Yep.
She fucking hates his guts.
Oh yeah,
She
absolutely.
doesn't like Stephen. And all of a sudden, she's at the burn pit. She's at the burn pit. This is ridiculous. Now, I just want to say that the first bone that was discovered was by Jost at about 1:30 p.m. and he found it in the grass 8 feet south. So it wasn't in the burn pit, it was in the grass, Susan.
Is this a report you're reading?
It's in a report and it's also in testimony.
In testimony.
In testimony. Pre-trial and trial. Okay, this is getting information from Sturdivant, and don't worry, we go over it. So this is not me making it up. This is actual testimony. Jost, and it's also in Queso. Jost is the first person to find a bone fragment in the grass 8 feet south of the burn pit. It wasn't even in the burn pit, right? And I think the comment was made that it looked like a human vertebrae, spinal column, right? So Jost calls Sturdivant over, and I think Strauss was there too, to say, hey, have a look at this. And you know what's incredible? I can't explain this. Maybe somebody in chat or on the panel can. There was a red flag next to the bone fragment. Now, wait a minute. Who the hell went through there and stuck a red flag next to the bone fragment?
I didn't know that, or I'd forgotten it.
Wow. There was a red flag.
Wow. Yeah, I've just read that. Yeah.
There was a red flag.
Well, they had hundreds of cops on that property, right?
That's right. But this is November the 8th.
Yeah.
Who the hell went through there and stuck red flag as if to say, hey, have a look at this. Now, guys, if you are the planter and you dropped all these bones, Isn't that exactly what you want? Attention of a third party to say, hey, we better check over here. How the hell did that red flag got placed there? But here's the kicker. The crime lab took an hour and a half to come to the burn pit. An hour and a half, because wait for it, they were sifting through burn barrels. So let's think about this. You find bones in a burn pit behind Stephen Avery's garage, and it took the crime lab an extra hour and a half to get down there. Susan, did you have a comment?
Weren't they actually out at the property?
They were sifting through burn barrels. I don't know exactly where they were, but they didn't come immediately. They came an hour and a half later. Obviously,
weren't they at the queso garage or some area, which is
they could have been
40
Yeah,
minutes
they were
away?
in some kind of a garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like about 20 minutes away, and it took them an hour and a half to get there.
And funny, an hour and a half is missing from the RAV being transported from the Dassey to the crime lab.
Something like that. Correct. So Tom Sturdivant plays a crucial role here. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? Now, who would like to read Attorney Johnson, and who would like to read Sturdivant? So Attorney Johnson, it's not highlighted, but the answer is from Sturdivant in blue. Who would like to read Attorney Johnson?
I can help read, Doc.
Yeah, me too.
Jack 61 and Andy B. Oh, sorry, just Rhonda. Would you like to read the answer in blue? So this is very early on. This is Attorney Johnson. This is before Strang and Buting came along. This is him questioning Sturdivant in Stephen Avery's pre-trial. Let's go for it, guys.
Okay, so then there's the crime lab people are already there at that burn pit or burn area. Is that right?
Well, they eventually arrived after I requested their assistance.
Okay, so when you first get there, the crime lab people are not there.
That's correct.
Okay. And so after discovering this bone and seeing this mound of dirt or dug up area that you describe as being new to the landscape, then so at that point you call in the crime lab people?
No. What happened is that after discovering that bone, I looked to the north where I observed other bone fragments. And I have sifted through bone fragments in the past. So I made the observation that it appeared to me that there were additional bone fragments within that debris. And I did call the crime lab. However, they were busy recovering debris from other burn barrels, so they weren't there immediately.
When you say you made the observation, was that looking into this burn area from the outside, or did you physically walk through the burn area, or the second? What did you do?
From the 8 feet south of that burn pit, I could clearly see that there was some bone matter located around the debris pile. Then I walked over and took a closer look at the charred debris and realized that there was quite a bit of bone matter within the debris, as well as intertwined within the steel belts of burned tires and so forth.
Okay. Can you describe more specifically what you saw when you say bone matter? What exactly does it look like?
Well, in this case, it just looked like different lengths and different sizes of bone fragments. Could I determine at that point what they were, what type of bone? I could not, but I could determine that it was bone matter. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. And you say you
Mhm.
have sifted through this kind of thing before, is that right?
That's correct.
And approximately how many times?
Twice.
Two times.
Yes.
Oh boy.
God. Jesus.
Now, here's the problem, right? Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide? And this will become obvious. This is 36D1. So Sturdivant said, oh, I looked up and I saw more bones. Where the fuck did he see these bones?
From
Jack
8
61.
feet away.
Yeah. Now, Jack 61,
Yeah, that's
yes,
insane.
expand that picture. Where did he visually see? Notice he didn't say, I sifted, I saw additional bone fragments. Guys, in the chat and on the panel, what did he
No.
see, Sturdivant see, that you can't see? Andy B, can you see anything that's obvious bone fragments?
No, I can't. I
I
certainly
don't
not in the
recall.
brush that I thought
Yeah.
was wire anyway.
Yeah, I don't recall. Do you see something that we can't see?
I do not see anything you can't see.
Yep. Susan, do you notice any bone fragments that you can visually see?
He said he looked up from 8 feet away and could obviously see bones. I mean, come on. No.
And you know what's worrying? That's probably where Trooper Reese was standing when he took his photograph.
Yeah.
And you can't see any bones.
See anything?
Nope.
Jack 61.
Well, down here at the very tip bottom, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not. There's a leaf down there, and over to the left, it looks like a rock. Another rock. I'm sorry, I just don't see anything that looks like. I mean, I know this is not a high def, millions of megapixel photo, but I can't see anything, Doc.
Right, but you can see the dog leash, can't you? Hanging
Absolutely.
off Bear. But you can see the small rocks, right? But I am damn sure, and I've got a high resolution monitor, I cannot see a pile of bone fragments that he saw from 8 feet away.
Same here, Doc. I got a high res monitor, and I can't see it.
Just Rhonda. Thank you, Jack 61. Just Rhonda. Do you see any a pile of bone fragments?
No, I have a high res screen as well, and there are no fucking bone fragments. There are none. He's lying. He's a fucking liar.
Okay. No, I
Jesus.
don't think he is.
Sorry.
I don't think he is. This is the problem. I don't think he is lying. But there's
Yeah,
no
this is from
bone
the set.
six.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
the
this is
problem.
later.
Right. 2 days later.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So you see, this is the dilemma.
Big
the dilemma is
Okay.
there's no fucking bones there on November the 6th, but there are on November the 8th, which is exactly one day after Cuss Road.
That's right.
That's the
And
problem.
where is it obvious that tires were burned in there?
It's not. But but I'll explain that in a second. That's why I pointed in yellow what that thing is. I have a feeling it's brush, unburnt brush or semi-burnt brush. But it's what he calls it that's very, very interesting. What Sturdivant calls it and what's put in a diagram that's going to blow your mind. And now I understand why they did it. Sturdivant said he saw bone fragments intertwined in wire. Correct? Correct? That's what he said. It's
Yes.
in testimony as well, that there were bone fragments intertwined in wire. Now, I've looked at all the Trooper Reese photos. I cannot see any bone fragments at all. Sturdivant isn't lying. He saw bone fragments. The trouble is, they're not there on the 6th. And what he described gave the game
Yeah.
away, because when Odor went there, he took one look at the burn pit and said, guys, you got to be fucking kidding me. I'm not taking pictures of this shit. It's obviously been altered. And
Right.
Susan, you said that the dogs went through there and there were no hits.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
That's a
Never
huge.
And
did.
the
That's
dogs
a,
took him away from the burn pit and Steven's home and the garage.
that's right.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
They went to
And
cuss.
another point, the dogs were brought to Steven's house, the garage, and that area, right? Because
that's
why?
correct.
Because Teresa was last seen there and she never left. Yet,
Correct.
Pam of God goes on the very opposite side, and the
Correct.
Holy Spirit leads her there.
Correct. The Holy
Or-
Spirit didn't lead it. The Holy
or
Spirit didn't lead her to the burn pit. The Holy
where
Spirit
she was the
led
last
her.
seen and burnt and everything else. Yeah.
That's correct. The Holy Spirit never went to the burn pit. The Holy Spirit went to the car. And why? Because that's how they got their search warrant and just cause to get on there. They didn't go to the Holy Spirit didn't put the shining light on the burn pit. Isn't that incredible? What did the state need? They needed a search warrant. What does Pam of God find? The car. What do they get after that? The search warrant. And then on the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, and half of the 8th, they never see any bones. Then suddenly on the 8th, Jost finds a bone. And then Sturdivant looks up, and 8 feet away, he sees bones. Wow. Jackson,
It's like manna from heaven, the bingo day.
correct.
So, is that pile of brush supposed to be tire wires? Is that the deal?
Well, good question. Let's have a look at the next slide. Look at this. Now, of course, they drew 3D animations, right? So just have a look at what Jack 61 put up. To me, that doesn't look like wire. That looks like unburnt brush. Guys, have a check what they called it in the picture. Can you see it in the red arrow? What did they call it?
Tire cords.
Tire cords. They called that, you can see it's in the burn pit. And if Jack 61 goes back one slide, they're referring to the same thing. They're calling that what I call brush tire wires.
No
Just
way.
wonder.
I'm looking at these pictures. There's no way.
Right? Have a look at this is what the jury saw. It's pointing to the same thing. And they put tire cords. And have a look at the dog. Right? See how they got the dog? And look what they've got in the chain. Sorry, Jack 61.
No, to me, that's brush. It's just a piece of a tree limb that didn't get burned.
Correct.
That's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like tire wire. I've burnt radio tires before. It doesn't look like that.
Correct.
What about the bigger piece? Is that a wire? The couple pieces that really stand out, are those wires around the brush?
There's likely. I don't think there's any wire there per se, but you wait till you see the next picture. So can you see what they've done? They've said that Stephen burnt a whole heap of tires for fuel to burn Teresa Horbach, and the picture they've got here in the 3D picture, they've got it as tire cords. And what did Sturdivant say? I saw bones intertwined with wire.
Yes.
But on November the 6th, it looks like a piece of unburnt brush. So something's happened between the 6th and the 8th. But wait a minute. The whole Avery family and the Dasseys are at Cruvets. So what happened?
And also, Mignon said that it appeared tires had been burned there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
There's There was some
Yes,
steel belt. There was some steel belts
yes,
outside of the burn pit. They are there.
yes,
There
They're just
were.
not.
There
Yeah,
were.
yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. But have a look at the dog's chain. What has the dog got in its chain? Tire cords. Tire cords. So somehow Bear must have gone close and some of the tire wire got stuck in his chain, or we don't know when that tire wire got stuck there. Jack 61.
Yeah, I also want to make a point for those that haven't read the pretrial material. There was a lot of back and forth with Buting and Strang and the state about these labels that got put on these animations and
They
the
made mistakes.
Yep, and the impossible angles that wouldn't normally be. I mean, you could get this angle for sure out of a helicopter or whatever, but there was a lot of back and forth. I'm telling you,
Correct.
it was ridiculous.
Correct. Correct. So to me, they've made a mistake, a crucial error, right? And Jack 61, if we have a look at the next picture, this is going to blow you away. Have a look at this picture. This is picture 36D3.
See,
So,
that looks like brush to me.
yeah, now have a
Is
look at
that
this.
stuff where the red arrow is? Is that supposed to, is that
Yeah.
meant to be tire
Well, I'm
wire?
asking.
And the
that-
same pile, it looks like, except for all the
Yeah, but hold on. It's
leaves.
now no longer in the burn pit.
Right.
It's right next to the seat.
But it has a lot more on top of it. It didn't have
Yeah.
all those, whatever
No.
that is. on
Where'd all
top
that
of
shit
it.
come from? Who the hell did that?
Yeah, that's it. And
Oh my
it's
God.
got dried leaves in it.
Yep.
How the fuck
Yeah.
can you burn a body and be intermingled with dried leaves
No
all
way.
intermingled in that material? Tell
No
me,
way.
guys, how the hell? And now wait for it. You know what Sturdivant said? He said that he saw bones intertwined in that. No.
Bullshit.
There's something wrong. There's something wrong.
Could there have been two piles like that? Do we have earlier photos where it would show the pit and the seats?
Well, the ones that
Maybe
show
that's
the
a different pile.
The ones that show the pit show what looks like to be brush in the pit, in the burn pit.
Yeah, this
Where the
looks
hell-
more like wires, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Not
but it's not in the burn pit.
Right.
And you can see the wire if you look closely on the bottom. You
Look
can
at the
see
bottom.
Yeah,
They're
down
right
the
there.
bottom.
you
Yeah.
can see
Yep.
if you look at above, does that look like tire wire to you?
No.
No.
That looks
I don't
that
know
looks
what the
like
hell it is.
that looks
That's
like
brush. That's just brush,
That
pine
looks like
needles
brush.
and
That looks like brush.
leaves. And
And it's what? November, so that stuff is all dead
oh yeah.
Yeah,
by that time of year.
yeah. So
So
there's no doubt that there's wire there. But Sturdivant is saying that he saw, and that's why the guilters jump up and down like hyenas saying, oh yeah, he put tires on top of Teresa Hobart. Wait a minute, this material is not even in the burn pit.
no.
So what?
Yeah.
And look at the red flags.
Yeah, I was
what are
going to
the red
ask about the red flags.
What are the red flags doing there? What the hell? So what these guys are describing is not what's present in the photographs.
No. No.
Could that be filling from the car seat?
It could well be, because the car seat's been burnt out.
Mm.
Is that material from the car seat? Is that brush? How come there are dried leaves there?
Yeah, like I said before, living up here for as many years as we have, I'm telling you, in the fall time, it happens every year. It turns cold, the wind picks up, and when I mean picks up, I mean anywhere from 15 to gusts up to 30, and you might get leaves from people's property. Yeah, they just blow everywhere.
Yes.
It's It's common. It's really common.
Yes. Yeah. So
TTM
it,
Fangirl is making the point that it looks like green brush inside that car seat. Look inside. Get
underneath
closer
it.
to that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you saw the picture from Trooper Reese. There's definitely what appears to be brush, unburnt brush, inside the
Yeah.
burn pit. Then all of a sudden
Such-
you've got this material now outside the burn pit, and Sturdivant is saying, "Oh yeah, I saw intertwined bones in the steel
Why?
wire."
Come on.
I think that's just the grass on the other side of the seat, just seeing through it. I don't know.
Yes, there is grass. There is
Perhaps.
that's definitely grass. And Jack
Yeah.
61, if you look at 36D4,
Yeah.
I've actually
Just
exploded the picture up a little bit.
just one comment, and I'll
Duke
move
Juke
the
is saying
photo.
that, sorry. Duke Juke is saying that he said skull bones.
Yes, he did. He did.
I
Sturdivant said he
feel like I heard
saw
something.
he said that he saw skull fragments. Now wait a minute.
God.
When Eisenberg reconstructed the skull, she said that the majority of the skull was missing, but what was present in the skull fragments? What was present?
Lead.
But what was the other obvious thing that was present?
Oh, the beveling.
2 fucking bullet holes. Are you trying to tell me that Sturdivant, who's a law enforcement officer, failed to mention that he saw bone beveling in the skull fragments? Yeah. Susan. Sorry, just Rhonda.
No, I'm just, my mouth's hanging open. I forgot to mute.
Okay, so if you have a look at 36D4, I've blown up that area there, right? Now, to me, that material is the same color as the dried leaves, right? That doesn't look like, I mean, you can see, I think there's a bit of wire right down the bottom because you can see the round nature of it. But the other material, that looks like a dried brush. I could be wrong. Maybe it could be wire, but it certainly doesn't look like wire. But the other thing you noticed is, who the hell dumped their water bottles at the burn pit? You can see the water bottles. This is a crime scene. And the people that were there.
Okay, sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
I've seen tires burning before when I lived on the farm and stuff, when I first moved to Utah.
Yes.
But I seen them burning, but I've never really seen the aftermath of it. So when we're talking about steel belts, aren't we I'm using my cursor like you guys can see. To the left of that brush on the ground,
Yes.
that round belt steel
that
thing
looks like a
looking
rim.
thing, is that
No, that
the
looks
rim?
like a rim. That looks like a rim. Yeah. The steel belts will be circular, and there's like a whole group of them, about, depending on how many belts there are within the tire, but they certainly don't look like that.
They don't look like a bundle, no.
No, they
That,
don't.
you know what? I don't know what other people call it, but that looks like a tumbleweed. I don't know if that's a common thing that people know of.
Yes.
That's what that looks like.
Could it be after burning lots and lots of tires, he kind of rakes them all into a pile? I don't know what steel belts look like, but
yeah,
but would they be that color?
That I don't
kind of
know.
rusty.
Think that they would be like
They might be rusty.
Oh, maybe, I
But
guess, maybe.
If they are,
Also,
if
Doc,
Yes.
Jinx is making the point that they're using those water bottles to hold down the tarp.
Hold down the tarp? Well, I don't see a tarp there. And wouldn't you use like something a little bit more heavier than just water bottles? No, that's
well,
bullshit.
If they're full of water, they would be heavy.
Yeah, but no, there are other water bottles that are empty. that obviously the workers have just been using and drinking and just discarding them there, right? You're not going to use, I don't think you're going to use a water bottle. You'll use more like something like a hard, like a rock, to make sure that the tarp doesn't blow away, right? No, there are discarded water bottles. You can see them all around the place, right? It doesn't make any sense.
Jinx has put several pictures in the office. I don't know if
Okay.
Jack can grab them or not, or they're pretty compelling though.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yep.
I'm done. I'll mute.
No hassles at all. So it's very, very interesting. So Jack 61, can we have a look at the next slide, please? So this one this one's gonna do your head in. So this is Fallon questioning Sturdivant, right? And Andy B, can you see slide 36E?
Yes, just let me go to me Google. So it's 36E, is it?
36E, yep. So this is Fallon questioning Sturdivant during the Stephen Avery trial.
Okay. Is that a photograph of how
No,
the...
it's testimony.
Oh, right. Okay.
36E. Can you see it?
Well, I'm going off what's on YouTube at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, he had just started reading it, Doc.
Huh?
I think he had just started reading it.
Right.
All right. So I'm doing right. Okay. So question.
Can you do the question? And I don't recall. Do you see the slide?
Yes.
Can you do the answer?
Yes.
So
Yes,
that's
I
Sturdivant.
do.
Okay, let's go for it, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Question. Is that a photograph of how the burn area looked when you first began to inspect it?
That's correct.
All right. And I know that there is a German Shepherd prominently featured in the centre of this photograph.
That's correct. It was a large, in my opinion, intimidating big German Shepherd that stood up on top of the pile.
All right. And was that a German Shepherd there when you first approached the area too, to examine the article found by Deputy Yost?
Yes, he was.
Just hold on right there. Hold on right there. That's proof positive that Bear was there on November the 8th. Correct? No doubt. Bear was there on November the 8th. Now, wait a minute.
And Mignon also testified to that.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute.
Or
he's seeing a photograph on November the 6th with Bear standing next to the burn pit. We all got that right? He's not looking at a picture from November the 8th. He's looking at the picture from November the 6th. So how in the hell did he say that he saw Bear at that spot on November the 8th?
He was there.
Yeah, but that photograph that he saw was from November the 6th. He's saying that, he remembered Bear at that spot on November the 8th. How did he do that? So did Sturdivant see Bear right next to the burn pit? Yes or no? Jack 61.
Well, he could have, but if he's a mean, vicious dog, why isn't he getting his ass bit?
Right? Yeah. Just remember that point. Just remember that point. That's crucial. All right. Sorry, guys. Continue.
All right. Now, you indicated the dog was large and intimidating. Could you elaborate on that?
As you walk toward the mound of dirt, the dog would come out and at times aggressive aggressively charged towards people that were walking toward the earthen pile.
Did you hear that? Now, yeah, did you hear that?
Having trouble
Now,
getting it out.
yeah, now wait, read the next part on the next page. So remember, bear's aggressive. Bear would lunge if you approach the burn pit. Have a read of what Sturdivant said. I don't recall. You want to read the answer?
I think that's the wrong.
It's on
Yeah,
36F. No, that's correct. That's correct. This is further on in the testimony.
Okay.
Oh,
okay. So
Yeah.
bone fragments. What did you do?
Oh, you're cutting out.
No, you're guitaring.
Do you want to start that one again? I don't recall.
Okay. After looking at this burn pit, so I walked from the bone. After looking at the bone fragment, I then walked toward this burn pit. So I walked from the bone, from the piece of bone fragment out here to the burn pit. I looked at the burn pit. I observed what I thought were other bone fragments in and around that burn pit. I picked up a twig. I moved some leaves and other things, and I could see other bone fragments within the charred debris. I noticed that what I believed to be skull fragments in that debris and intertwined within the steel belted tires. Aside from that, I didn't do much with that burn pit. At that point, we were trying to get in contact with the folks from the crime lab, as well as some of our arson folks.
Sound like I got
All
caught in the
right.
throat there, Doc.
So So wait a minute. What's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with what Sturdivant just said? NDB.
What, the steel belted tires? The skull fragments?
Yes. But what's the other obvious thing that he just stepped into and just admitted?
I picked up a twig and moved some leaves and other things.
Okay, so does that mean that he was at the burn pit? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
Jack 61. Yeah, he was at the burn pit. What did he just say a bear does?
Yeah, bear. He's not talking about bear being there. And
he
aggressing
charges
him.
people that
Yeah,
come
he's
close. Yeah.
Right. Come out and charge at
Well,
you.
Have a look at
Yeah.
the next slide, Jack 61, 36G. Now this is going to blow you away, 36G. So Sturdivant just said, oh, bear was aggressive. You try to get close to that burn pit, he would lunge at you. Sturdivant just said that he went to the burn pit, noticed bones intertwined with the steel wire mesh, got a twig and moved the bones. Have a look where bear can get to with his chain. Do you see what I'm talking about now?
Well, yeah.
So-
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sturdivant would have been eaten alive, according to his bullshit.
Are you trying to tell me that this is another Pam of God moment where the Holy Spirit said to bear, don't go near Sturdivant, go away,
Absolutely.
behave? Can you see that he got caught out?
Absolutely.
The chain extended all the way to where Sturdivant was with the twig. Jack 61.
Oh, absolutely, Doc. He would have gotten, if Bear was behaving like he described, he would have been bit many times and attacked.
He would not have gone to that pit if
No.
that were the truth.
No.
100% correct, right? And this is not me making it up. This is their diagram, which shows the reach of bear. And this is what Kratz was saying all along, that bear was so aggressive that he shooed away all the investigators. Wait a minute. Sturdivant A admitted that bear was there, and B, that bear was aggressive and would lunge if you approached the burn pit. Sturdivant just said that he walked to the burn pit and examined bone fragments in the burn pit, and that bear never mentioned bear lunging at him. Susan, did you have a comment?
No, Doc, I don't.
Okay. So Jack 61, if we can have a look at the next slide. This is to make sure that the diagram was accurate and not an error. And if you have a look at the next diagram, which is 36G2, or do you have that one, Jack 61? 36G2. I sent you that late. You may or may not have.
Yeah. I'll have to go forward and then back up.
Yes,
So-
I think it's important to show this. So what they did is they took close-up photographs of the chain that bear was on, right? Because have a look at this. Have a look at the length of that chain, right? It's long, and you can see the arrow further down. That's where bear was chained up. So that picture that you saw beforehand, it wasn't a lie. Bear could have reached right past the burn pit where Sturdivant was. Then, guys, that begs the question, did Bear all of a sudden allow Sturdivant right next to the burn pit? Susan?
Yeah, that chain will definitely reach, I have to say. And bear wasn't aggressive, so it's just such a lie. That's a crass lie.
Yes.
And the way they're umming and ahhing all the time, trying to get this out in testimony, I mean, it's just so obvious.
Trying to get the story straight.
Trying to lie.
It was stuck in his throat. Come on, if it's the truth, you shouldn't have any trouble saying it, man. Come on.
Correct. So, guys, what we'll do a couple of more slides, and I'd like to finish the podcast. We've covered a hell of a lot, but check this out. This is slide 36H. Now, I'd like to thank Duke 11 for pointing this out. This is an absolute ripper. All right, 36H, Jack 61. Now, Neverly, would you like to read do you see the slide?
Yes, I do.
Would you like to read out the answer, that's Sturdivant, and who would like to read Dean Strang, which is the question?
Let me.
Just Rhonda, you can read Strang. Right?
I'm
now
just being a smart ass because me and Everly, yes.
Yes, it's the two of us.
Pay close attention to what Sturdivant says. Let's go for it, guys.
I have to stop just for 1 second, Doc. There's really a rule. Yeah. It should be a foul play rule, actually.
That not to get
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, the two West Coast homies really aren't allowed to read together because, trust me, I'm kidding. I'll shut up now.
We could be here for 2 hours.
Well,
just reading one.
Depending on which words we run across.
Does not define us.
All right. Sorry, ladies.
Okay.
Let's go for it, guys.
Oh, geez. Okay. Did the dog leash, so far as you know, extend that far south to the red flag of the bone fragment?
It did not, to the best of my knowledge.
Liar.
We're at it. The dog we saw in the picture, did he or she stay there the entire time you folks were sifting and going through this burn pit?
No. It's my recollection that the dog was removed, I believe, prior to the sifting. So I thought the dog was removed at some point between the time that we contacted the crime lab and the time that we began our sifting.
And that was a matter of asking an officer to come and remove the dog?
I'm not certain who did that, but I believe the dog was removed by, could have been the animal control officer.
Okay. That was a matter of just simply making a phone call and getting somebody to do it.
Yes.
Now, guys, let's unpack this. Kratz was saying, hey, our investigators, our other dogs could not get to the burn pit because of the vicious bear. Sturdivant just said, hey, all they had to do was call animal control and they take the dog away. So no one thought that they should take the dog away. But what's the obvious problem? There are two obvious errors in what Sturdivant just said, Susan.
Well, I think Strain missed out here because he asked him if the dog lead stretched out to the bone to the far south by the red flag.
That's right.
Which it didn't go that far. But why didn't he ask him if it stretched to the pit while he was stirring it with a twig?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. And what's the other obvious error?
When the dog was picked up.
Yes. Now, can
they
you
might
see
have moved him within the property. They might have put him over by Barb's or something.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Who did that?
Yeah, good question.
And if he was vicious, how did they get to do that?
That's right. It's all completely left out. It's such bullshit.
It's bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So quite clearly, Bear wasn't removed. Bear wasn't aggressive, and they sifted the burn pit, and Bear didn't give a damn. That's the truth. Neverly.
Sorry, don't comment.
Okay, so have a look at the next slide. Jack 61, can we put that up? We'll do a couple of more slides and then we'll finish the podcast. So if you have a look at the next slide, I checked, this is 36I. I checked the in and out sheets, login sheets. And on the 9th, November the 9th, if we have a look at the very next slide on 36J, so this is November the 9th, the login sheet on November the 9th. If you look at 36J, which is the very next slide, you can see that at 4:35 in the afternoon, two vets came from Two Rivers. I think it must be Dr. Katz. How unfortunate is that name, right? Dr. Katz. Two vets came out. They obviously picked up Bear and they left 7 minutes later. So guys, it took the vets 7 minutes to remove the vicious bear, right? And what's remarkable is that it's November the 9th. So Bear was still there when they sifted the material. Susan.
Yeah, and they did not do anything with the burn pit this day on the 9th.
No, they didn't. They came back one day after with the bulldozers, right? And they destroyed the entire burn pit area. Jack 61.
Yeah, we can literally see here that they were there 7 minutes. So I'm thinking, get there, park, talk to people, then go get the dog. So a couple of minutes to get the dog, that vicious dog, under control. Yep. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
Also, Duck, are we going to play the two phone calls or no?
Yes, let's do it. You got them?
I do.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Give me a moment to get switched over. You talk and I'll get it pulled up.
No hassles. So guys, can you see what Kratz did in the trial was complete utter garbage. He lied about Bear. He lied about being vicious. He lied about the fact that Bear shooed away the investigators, and there was Sturdivant right next to Bear's head if Bear was aggressive, because he went right up to the burn pit, saw bones, got a twig, and saw the bones were entangled in the wire mesh. How can that possibly be if Bear's chain extended all the way to the burn pit? And then to make matters worse, they call the vet on November the 9th, and it took them 7 minutes to remove the dog. And remember, on November the 6th, they had 19 dog handlers. Not one of them was called to remove the dog. That's clearly, it is all smoke and mirrors by Kratz, and he blamed Bear. But you can
They would
clearly
have
see.
tranquilized it if he was that aggressive and lunging at people.
Yeah, and
Just
what
like-
what did, sorry, Neverly, what did Fallon and Kratz say in court? We have to thank Kurcharsky for not shooting Bear. Neverly, do you have a comment?
Here I am feeling bad about tranquilizing the dog, and he's talking
They wanted
about
to shoot
shooting.
him.
Yeah.
Yep, they wanted to shoot him.
They would have, totally.
They would have. Yep, they would have. Susan, a comment.
That 7 minutes includes them leaving the command post, going all the way down there to Stevens, getting there, and getting back to the command post. So in reality, it took them about a minute to get there, a minute or two.
Correct. 100% correct.
But he's so vicious, Susan. Come on. He'll attack you.
Right. Oh, my God.
What bullshit.
So, Jack 61, we have to mute?
You'll have to mute YouTube, and I'm sorry, mute Discord and unmute YouTube. So here's the first call.
Manitowoc Sheriff's Department, Carrie speaking.
Carrie, can you give me the number for the Two Rivers Animal Hospital or Dr. Cox?
Sure, hold on 1 second.
That was at a burn pile. An entire bracelet.
793.
793.
1187.
1187?
Yep, the Two Rivers Vet Hospital.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That's the first call. And then there's another one after, because they wanted Bear's feces. So, and because as Neverly said, and Susan, Bear was constipated, so he's hurting. Let me pull the next call up.
Are you lost, Jack?
Nope. I just got to dig.
Okay.
I got him. All right.
You see your little cursor moving around. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, you can't see I'm opening the file. All right, here we go. I'll forward it a little bit. Here we go.
Sheriff's Department.
Inspector Shedder, what's up?
Hey, Jason, are you the afternoon shift commander?
No, this is Mike Polish.
Oh, it's Mike. All right. Sounded like Jason Arce almost.
Ouch.
Oh.
What's up?
The Calumet had a dog taken from here, and they got some evidence over at Dr. Cox that needs to be picked up. If a Beat 1 car can
That would be me.
sweep past Dr. Cox, grab that evidence, and bring it out and drop it off at the command post.
Immediately or when I go 10-8?
Nah, when you go 10-8.
Okay, I'll be bringing your check out too then, I think.
Alrighty.
All
All right.
right, how big of a container is it in, or?
I think it's a pile of dog shit.
Gee, thanks.
And we're going to be analyzing. Well, I'm sure Dr. Cox has it.
Has it properly packaged, I'm hoping?
Yeah, I hope so too.
Okay.
but it said it'd probably be small.
Okay, you need to talk to the shift commander at all? John's not the shift commander today.
Yeah.
Andy is.
Okay, no, just tell Andy what you're doing.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Later.
Bye.
And there we go.
Thank you so much, Jack 61.
Yep.
Does that sound like a very serious murder investigation to you?
None whatsoever. A nonchalant call.
No, but they are talking about picking up dog shit, so I can understand why they're laughing.
True. So they must have believed that Bear must have eaten part of Teresa Hallbach, and they're going to check his stools. I think they X-rayed it. I don't think they did any DNA analysis on it at all, as far as I'm aware. All right. Well, look, guys, what we'll do 3 more slides. 3 more slides. Jack 61, are we able to look at slide 36K?
Yeah, let me just get back over here.
This is Sturdivant. This is during the Stephen Avery trial, and I think it's Dean Strang who's talking to Sturdivant. Now, this, you've got to take note. This is slide 36K. This goes to show that something really bizarre took place between November the 6th and November the 8th.
It'll pop in there in a second, Doc.
Who would like to read the part of Dean Strang? Who would like to do that?
If no one wants to, I can certainly read it, Doc.
I'll read.
I can do it.
Well, you guys go ahead.
So,
you guys go ahead.
Susan, will you read Dean Strang? And Neverly, will you read the answer, which is Sturdivant? Now,
Sure.
Take close note to what Sturdivant says. Let's go for it, guys.
What did you do with the burn pit area itself when it became too dark to continue the processing?
We examined the scene and removed the stuff down to the ground surface. We did not dig in the ground. We left other items that we found there: the shovel and the hammer, the hacksaw blade and the screwdriver, the seat belt fastener, the burned out frame, the tire, and the other things were left on the scene. The scene was covered with a tarp. And my decision was, if this turned out to be Teresa Hallbach and we called Special Agent Fassbender, that we should then come back and more thoroughly examine this scene. But our intention at that point in the time were to determine whether or not Teresa Hallbach was alive or dead at that point in time. And that's why it was important to me to get those bones off to the crime lab to see if in fact that we discovered Teresa Hallbach.
And now wait a minute. Let's get this straight. Let's get this straight, right? You find a pile of bones, bone fragments in a burn pit, including skull fragments, and you're asking the question whether in fact we had discovered Teresa Hallbach alive or dead. Guys, am I missing something? Is there something strange in Wisconsin? Susan?
That's somebody lying, trying to...
Or stupid.
What the hell? It's just...
Does that make any sense
unreal.
At all?
No, that's the thing. It makes no sense. And I think that shows he's lying.
Yeah, it's downplayed to... So far, it's like, well, we wanted to make sure, and it's so nonchalant.
We left out what kind of saw blade?
Hacksaw blade.
Hacksaw blade. I just left it there. I left a shovel.
But notice what he said. It got dark. We left. We left all the instruments. Now wait a minute. Jack 61. Correct me if I'm wrong. But at Cuss Road, did they erect anything up?
Floodlights.
Yes, floodlights.
The day before.
That's what
The day before.
That's what
They had
Yeah.
I was
floodlights
just
on
gonna
the
say,
salvage.
why not turn on floodlights?
They
Yeah,
had floodlights
sorry.
at the yard, at the burn pit. There were floodlights
Yes,
there. There's
yes,
photos
there
of
They
were,
them.
did.
floodlights. There were floodlights. There's a photograph showing the floodlights.
Yep.
By the
But why
way,
did they leave them?
yes, and did they have a helicopter flying above Stephen Avery's burn pit taking photographs
They
from
did.
You
law
know,
enforcement? From law enforcement, like they did at Cuss Road.
And now I think it's news crew.
Yeah, that's days later, but not on November the 8th.
Now you got to wonder why the state troopers didn't take overheads.
So why was
this,
McConnell taking pictures of Cuss Road that turned out to be nothing, but he wasn't there on the 8th, where it turned out to be Teresa Hallbach? Can
Exactly.
anyone answer that one?
Nope. Absolutely not. Makes absolutely zero sense.
Susan,
this sentence really bothers me.
which
And
one?
my
Which
decision was, if this turned out to be Teresa Hallbach, and we called Special Agent Fassbender, that we should then come back and more
Come
thoroughly
back.
examine this scene. How does that sentence make any sense whatsoever?
And how would Fassbender know from whatever they found that that's Teresa?
All right. So here's the question. Was there a coroner present?
Exactly.
Yes or no?
No.
Was there a
No,
forensic
no.
anthropologist present?
Nope.
Nope.
Is Sturdivant a coroner, a medical examiner, or a forensic
No.
anthropologist?
None of
Then
the above.
No.
how can he make a statement like that regarding bones?
Exactly. Good point.
And were any bones tested for DNA? No,
No.
bones were
No.
only muscle,
No.
only muscle tissue was. And did Sturdivant say he saw muscle tissue?
No.
Nope.
Just cremains, burnt cremains. Guys, I'm telling you right now, there's something weird going on. But it gets worse. And this is the sting. Can we just go to the right-hand side? This is Strang questioning Sturdivant. Have a listen to what he says. This is incredible. Can the two readers continue? So the answer is Sturdivant and the question is Strang. Neverly.
Okay. Answer. The bone fragments were concentrated within the pit, but there were some bone fragments intertwined within the steel belts, and so the bulk of the debris or bone fragments were located within the pit. What?
So, sort of in a pile, in effect?
Yes.
There's no pile of bones in that pit
What?
on the 6th.
There are no.
This is
now,
mind-boggling shit right here.
now, are you trying? So that's my argument all along. Something happened between November the 6th, where there's no pile of bones, to November the 8th, where there is a pile of bones.
Yeah.
And Jack 61, if we have a look at slide 37A, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Right? So something, I believe Sturdivant is telling the truth, but it can't be from what he saw on November the 6th.
No.
If you have a look at this, Jack 61, sorry.
No. Something did happen between November 6th and November 8th, and that was Cuss Road.
Correct. 100% correct. Right? And he just confirmed it because this is the burn pit on November the 6th. On the edge of that burn pit, it looks like brush, right? I even highlighted it out with a yellow arrow. It looks like unburnt brush. And yet on November the 8th, he said that he saw bones intertwined with steel belt radials. It can't be this because you would see white flecks within that brush. if he's calling that wire, you'll see the white flecks within it, the bone fragments. He said that he saw it from 8 feet away, Susan.
I call bullshit.
We're not hallucinating. Guys, there's no bones there.
No.
You can't see any bone fragments, Susan.
Nope. I see
Right?
nothing.
And
So
was that
this tumbleweed or brush or weeds, whatever you want to call them, is that maybe what Stephen was burning for a daunt?
That's what I think.
Guys, our final slide for today, Jack 61. Can you put up slide 37B? now, we don't muck around on foul play. We dig deep, right? So, just Rhonda, would you like to read the first section? And Neville, would you like to read the section down below in pink?
Sure.
So just Rhonda. So these are from, I think it was CASO reports. Just Rhonda.
Okay. Between 6:30 and 7, Brian said he left to go by his girlfriend's house. Prior to leaving, Brian did notice that there was smoke coming from behind Stephen's garage, but did not think much of it. I asked Brian how many times Stephen has burned in that pit, and he said about once to twice a month. Brian said the reason why he did not think anything of it was because Joshua Redant, owner of the gravel pit, was clearing brush, and Stephen had offered to burn that for him. Brian went on to say that the entire evening he had spent with his girlfriend, and he then went to work the next day and did not return home.
Now, isn't that interesting? Brian doesn't mention a burning body, and
Odor.
he mentioned
Or an odor.
no odor, nothing, no bear barking, nothing, but he mentioned brush.
And no
Neville.
flames over the house. Yeah.
No flames 10 foot high. So, Neville, would you like to read the next bit?
Sure.
This is Bobby Dassey.
Dassey indicated that on Tuesday or Wednesday, he observed a burning in the area in a pit behind Stephen's garage. He believed there was brush burning. Dassey stated he was home that night. Bobby Dassey states Stephen sometimes burns tires in the pit, and Stephen usually burns tires at night so you cannot see the smoke. Dassey indicates Stephen does not burn his tires anywhere else, and he indicated he believed Stephen was burning with Dassey's little brother, Brendan.
Now, guys, this is the second person that said burning of brush. And isn't it interesting that a lot of people on the panel and in chat said that material in the burn pit was brush, organic material, right? And in the picture, they referred to it as tire cords. It can't be tire cords. And none of us can see any bone fragments intertwined anywhere. Susan.
I can't rule out that is tire wires.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
It could possibly be. Although, what difference does that make, really?
Correct. But you didn't notice any white bone fragments in there?
I didn't. And Bobby also says Tuesday or Wednesday,
yes,
not Monday.
That's correct, which means that there was other burning events during the week. And I'll tell you right now, both Stephen and Brendan are not exactly the sharpest tools in the shed when it comes to timekeeping. So could it be that Stephen had actually burnt some brush during midweek for Josh Redon? Is it possible?
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think he had a fire on the 28th.
Sure.
But, the thing, to answer, at least attempt to answer Susan's question about what difference does it make about the tire wires, is because Kratz and the prosecution wanted to say that Stephen, used a bunch of tires to burn Teresa up. So
correct.
The more steel belts that were in that pit would be more indicative of him using this fuel.
Correct. 100% correct. But quite clearly, what Sturdivant is saying regarding the bones, you don't see it on November the 7th. And to make matters worse, there were periods of rain, which means that everything will be compacted. So how in the hell did Sturdivant see a pile of bones from 8 feet away centered in the middle of the burn pit, whereas on November the 6th, there's nothing there? Susan.
I just want to say that my brother invented a machine that separates the wires from the tires. So I am going to show him those photos and ask him if that could possibly be tire wires.
Okay.
Because he's very familiar.
But honestly, we don't know how long those tire wires, if they are so, have been there. You see what I'm saying? If he has a history of burning tires, no matter when, maybe they're just leftover.
Yep. And Pete Moss said, I quote, "Doc, I think it is tire wire. Jinx has put a photo in Discord and you can see the wires." And that I'm not disputing that. That's fair enough.
I'll see if I can pull it up.
Yep. That's why I asked the question, right? Is it brush? Is it tire wires? And then what is the material next to the seat? Is that tire wires? How did it get there? But one thing you can't see any white bone fragments embedded in that material. Whereas Sturdivant says that he saw a pile of bones in the middle of the burn pit and intertwined in the tire wires, which is very, very interesting.
And I think there would be more evidence in the burn pit or burn area of the prolonged, continuous, high temperature burning that night. Not to mention that everybody else would see it, but
there was no tire rubber at all on the bones, none whatsoever. Just wondered, did you have a comment?
Well, just a comment from James Crane. He said, I think he's talking to Susan, see if your brother can invent a machine that separates fact from fiction.
Yep, correct.
I thought it was
and
funny.
Quite clearly, that's tire wire. That picture there, that's tire wire, but it doesn't look anything like the bundle that's in the burn pit. Right? That's tire wire, no question.
Get the picture from Kratz's book. It's above that one, Jack.
Yeah, I can see that's tire wire. That looks like tire wire to me.
Correct. No dispute. Yeah.
But that bundle of stuff doesn't look to me
nothing like it.
And you know what? It's even here. It's neither here nor there, whether it's tire wire or brush, because you still cannot see any intertwined bones in it.
So are these supposedly photographs from the case that have bones intertwined in wire?
They showed this one, I think,
but is
trial,
this
the one on the
really
left.
a bone?
No.
Right.
This does not look like a bone to me at all.
Don't go back
like a
out,
piece of ash
Jack.
to me.
But there's other stuff. Can you go all the way out on that photo?
That's it right there. That's 4 photographs. There's 4 photographs in a collage.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing looks like bone.
No, that doesn't look.
Nothing looks like bone for sure.
Well, this upper left photo, this is what Guilt was claiming, is that there was steel belted tire melted in, or steel belts melted into that bone, and I'm sorry, I don't see that at all.
That's not a bone.
I don't either. Those just look like big, huge flakes of ash to me.
Yeah, that's not bone. If you put up the picture of the box of bones, I dare you to find one bone that looks like that, and the answer is there isn't any. There's none.
That's not a bone.
No, not at all. That it could also be a burnt piece of plastic, for all we know. That's not a bone.
Yeah,
I don't know what that is. Doesn't look like bone to me.
No,
This doesn't look
No,
like bone. No matter what the bundle is, none of it looks like bone. And I certainly don't see a pile of bones in that burn
No.
pit.
no,
Jesus, God help you.
no,
So I
No.
think that might be a pile of wire.
That could be. Yeah. I'm not disputing it. But what I'm saying is that my point all along has been, if you're going to talk about a crime scene, you need to document it properly, correct? You need to
Absolutely.
document it properly.
Everything.
And for Erdl to come along and say that the burn pit has obviously been altered, how do you know that those guys didn't use the tools to rake things up? You don't, do you? To collate things and rake things up. You don't.
We absolutely don't know because it was such a
don't.
failure of documentation. It's not even funny, really. It's almost,
No.
and I hate to say it, but it's really just stupid on their part.
And then how do you explain the pile of brush that looks like brush in the burn pit? Oh no, I triggered off balloons. How do you explain the pile? Did you like that one?
You can't explain it, Doc. Absolutely not.
I can't explain it. And then you've got the other pile right next to the seat, right? So the question is, which pile did he see the bone fragments intertwined? And that clearly what Jack 61 put up, that's not a bone, right?
Here's another thought, and this is just speculation, guys. Please don't take this as any kind of factual anything. But what if Erdl had been back there and had, kind of taken note of the scene, and then he gets called up there after they fucked with it on the 8th, and he can see clearly that they've screwed with it. Just a thought.
Oh, it could well be. It could well be. But again, the bottom line is this. We're debating about something that happened in 2005. Why? Because of a lack of proper crime scene documentation. That's my point. Now, we were guessing, is it brush? Is it wires? Is it bones? What the hell? If proper crime scene photographs had been taken from day one and a video, we wouldn't be asking these questions. If there were bones there, there you go. If there were bones there, you don't touch anything. You call the coroner, you call a forensic anthropologist, you extensively document the crime scene, and today there'll be no argument. The fact that we're arguing now in 2023 goes to show how ridiculously processed that crime scene was, right? Susan, do you have a comment?
Oh, yeah, my pork chops are getting cold.
Okay. So no. We're going to call the podcast to a close now. But guys, again, what an incredibly a fantastic podcast. But not only that, great questions. And again, we appreciate Jinx putting up pictures. Duke. I keep on getting his Duke 11 posting up documents. It's all fantastic.
And that report from Mignon, oh my God. Yeah,
correct.
And I will link that in the video description, so anybody that wants to grab it, so you don't have to go searching for it.
Yeah, that the dogs were there.
I think we should read it again.
That was awesome. That was awesome. So again, guys, if you really enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and please share. Please share. So look, guys, thank you so much. But what I'd like to do is to go around the panel, ask how everyone's coming along, and yeah, we'll take it from there. First up, Jack 61, how are you coming along?
Well, doing very well, Doc. It's hot as hell here, finally. I mean, when I say hot, it's, I think we got up to 90, maybe twice.
Yeah.
That's not hot in other parts of the world, but that's quite warm here. We've been covering a lot of calls and depositions and so forth for Stephen, and I thought, you know what, it's time to do something for Brendan. So tomorrow
Yes.
for the open mic is going to be the first set of oral arguments with Narrator and Berg. I'm not
Oh,
responsible for shit you break. I'm not. Sorry. There's a disclaimer going to be put up. So I would remove anything that you're going to get mad and throw or twist up and so forth and so on. That's for tomorrow's open mic. It's we're definitely going to do the first one. If there's time, between discussion, we'll do the second one as well. Anyway. So that's 5 o'clock tomorrow Central. So come if you're
correct.
interested in listening to this again and getting pissed off again.
Correct. But Jack 61.
Yeah.
The important thing is that this also entangles Brendan Dassey.
Yes.
If we can prove that there were no human cremains there on November the 6th and they were added on November the 8th, that exonerates him as well.
That's
so
right.
It's all very, very important.
Absolutely.
All right. Is that it, Jack 61?
Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Doc.
Okay. And I'll go to Neverly because I believe that she's got to leave soon. Neverly, how are you coming along?
Doing great. Dr. Silkman, thank you so much for putting this together. We're just getting like deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's always something new that we find out, even if it's like a tiny little moment or a piece of information. Yeah, it just takes us to a different level. And I wanted to thank everybody in the chat. Dark Side of the Moon, our wonderful super mod, strikes
Yes.
again. Yeah, we had tons of people in there. And I just wanted to mention this. It's easier for them to not take pictures and claim words only that something happened or didn't happen than the other way around. So whether they're not capable or incompetent, or maybe are just too clever for something like this. You know what I mean? Because I don't think that this is their first case. They're experienced investigators and they know how things are done.
Correct.
So it just makes me wonder the level of nefariousness. And not everybody is like that. As we see that some people are telling the truth and some people are actually giving us pointers when they say, the earth was disturbed, or we don't take pictures of disturbed scene or whatever, that's like a helpful hint for us that something's amiss.
100% correct. Thank you so much, Neverly. Much appreciated. Thank you. NDB, how about yourself? How are you coming along?
Oh, I'm coming along fine, Doc. Thank you very much. It's, I don't know, I think it's 26 degrees here. I'm sweating my cheeks off. And it's 2:30 in the morning. So thank you for keeping me awake again. It's another great podcast. And the Officer Mignon report was very eye-opening.
Absolutely.
Bringing those dogs in, like, it makes you wonder if the reports that you've been unable to get about the dog searches
I've got that
yeah, like, is it 30 pages or so? You say you can't get some of the dog reports.
I think that's what Jack 61 said. Yeah, about 30 pages missing. Yep.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if, like, what dogs they brought in. Was it the scent dogs? You can only assume it's the cadaver dogs that were brought in. So that was a nice piece of information, I thought. Great stuff again.
There are a lot of cadaver dogs. They're not just Brutus, many of them. Yep.
Interesting stuff. Thank you very much. And
Thank
good
you,
night,
Andy.
everyone.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much. I don't recall. How about yourself? Oh, I think we might have microphone troubles. Can you try again? I don't recall. No, I can't hear. I don't recall. Oh, we'll get back to her. Susan, how about yourself?
Yeah, that was great, Doc. Yeah, that Mignon report really says a lot. And God, if
It
we
does.
could get her on the podcast, would be awesome.
That'll be incredible.
But yeah, it tells a different story. It tells a different story than what they told from an
Yeah.
uninterested party.
100%
So
correct.
yeah.
And it
That's
also goes to show, sorry, Susan, also goes to show the danger of using earlier photographs to describe a scene that's different,
yeah.
right? They weren't looking at photographs from the 6th. They're looking at,
That's right.
sorry, they weren't looking at photographs from the 8th. They're looking at photographs from the 6th. And
I
quite
think you're
clear.
right. I think there was a pile of bones there on the 8th.
Yep. Yep. And I wonder whether John Erdl saw the earlier photographs on the 6th.
Yeah.
You never know. The Trooper Reese photographs, and he's looking at it going, uh-oh, this doesn't look the same. Something's happened. Right?
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Oh, obviously. Yeah. How do you put it? It had been altered.
But the scene had been obviously altered, and he doesn't take pictures. So, guys, don't get me wrong. There were bones there, but not on the 6th, right? We're talking about a planting scenario. Something has happened between the 6th and the 8th. As Jack 61 alluded to.
Maybe he observed the pit himself before the 8th and knew that it was different.
He was there. Remember, he was there on November the 5th. He was there.
Yeah.
And he went to Stephen's trailer on November the 5th. So he may have had a glance at the burn pit and said, no, this is not what I remember.
This is not. Yeah. Yep. Maybe so. Very interesting, Doc. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan.
I got pork chops waiting on me, so I'm going to run.
Nothing wrong with that. Go take that pork chop, but keep bear away and crabs.
Okay.
And finally,
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Susan. And next we have just Rhonda.
Hi, thanks, Doc. Yeah, fascinating podcast, and it's always I'm surprised that I can still have my my jaw drop open at different things that we learn on these podcasts. So that means there's a lot of digging going on and a lot of preparation from you, which we really appreciate.
No, not at all.
I'm going to switch gears just a tiny little bit. I want to make sure that those who have been following along in my live shows on my channel about Daniel's case, you don't want to miss this coming week, Thursday. We're going to read some pretty interesting, fascinating trial transcripts that are going to be mind-blowing. So, well, to me they are. To me they're mind-blowing, mind-boggling, whatever you want to call
Everything
it.
about
But
that
if you've
case
been following along, you don't want to miss this one coming up next week. And I will tell you, I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to go longer than 2 hours. So, and yeah, just we really look forward to having a big audience between my channel and Foul Play's channel, because I appreciate Jack. There's been a lot of people from Foul Play who are now becoming more familiar with Daniel's case because Jack is simultaneously streaming my live. Yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
So if you're in Foul Play and watching, that's awesome. That's great. But if you're in Foul Play and watching but not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
And then some of the girls and I, Susan and Kay and Cherie and I, we just took on something really, really, and I unfortunately at this point I can't give a case name, but Under Your Scars gave me some information this weekend or this last week that has really got the four of us digging. So we're going to do some more digging on this, and it's about a wrongful conviction case in Oklahoma that involves the death penalty. And after we get some more information and some more details about it, then we'll maybe talk about presenting some of it to you, because it's mind blowing. And yeah, that's just I want to make sure we can get as many people coming next week to the show as we can, because it's going to
Fantastic.
be interesting. And I'm going to show the first part of the 4-part series of Killing Glossip in my Discord in about a half
Right.
hour, probably. So if anybody's interested in seeing at least the first part, you're welcome to come over and watch with us. And that's it. Thank you,
Fantastic.
Dr. Silkman.
No, pleasure. Thank you so much, Just Rhonda. Thank you so much. I don't recall, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just going to echo what the others said, that it was very interesting. Once again, it seems like every week there's something jaw dropping, like, oh, wow, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, guys, we don't have all the answers, but through the contribution of all our supporters, Mystic Jinx, others that bring in documents, bring things to our attention, they're all jigsaw puzzle pieces that are slowly coming together, and you can see a different picture emerging. And that's awesome. And that's what this community is all about. We don't come on here saying we know all the answers, this is the truth. We're slowly looking at it. But one good thing is that we deep dive. We don't just spend 2 minutes reading a chapter and saying, oh, yeah, that's all 100% correct. We go to the original source material, and we're still finding nuggets of information in 2023. I had no idea about the Mignon report and the dogs going through. That's a game changer. That's a game changer, because Kratz, Fallon, Garn, they would have put that on front page and center. The dogs hit on the burn pit. You don't see that. And that's very, very important. Well, look, guys, again, thank you so much for your support. It's been great. And next week, we'll continue the series. We've got, we're going to now really dovetail very close to the dog tracks. And we're going to meet Mike Bushman as well. And that's going to be very, very interesting as well. But again, guys, please subscribe, like, and share. And we will see you all tomorrow for the open mic. Thank you, guys. Have a good evening or a good morning, wherever you are around the world. And again, the Foul Play team, thanks you for your support. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. And this has been a Foul Play production.